fantasy and ever-changing views and computer terminology. Commodore news. Are you keeping up with the Commodore? Yes, the Commodore is keeping up with you. Are you keeping up with the Commodore? Cause the Commodore is keeping up with you. Are you keeping up? Cause the Commodore is keeping up with you. Are you keeping up? Cause the Commodore is keeping up with you.
Hello and welcome to episode 99 of Zapped to the Past. I am Adrian Mills and I'm joined, as always, by Mr. Graham Braddings. If you haven't listened before, this is a podcast where we discuss games that were released for the Commodore 64. We are using the magazine Zapped 64 as the monthly guide for the games to focus on, but we are in no way affiliated with Zapped 64 itself. This week, we start our look at September 1988 and the first batch of games reviewed in issue 41 of Zapped 64, along with what was also going on in the UK albums chart that month. So Graham, there are games to behold this week. Tell us of them.
In this plate of mixed artisan breads and delicious home-churned butter of an episode, we wake up surrounded by dangerous trumpets in the dizzy skyscrapers of New York on a mission to look inconspicuous and seek revenge, potentially, in the dazzling and thumpy Last Ninjary 2, Back with a Vengeance. Explore the origin of many computer game adventures in the well-designed but scrappy version of the classic Unix system game, Rogue. Head into the endless, though seemingly well-illuminated, pine tree forests of somewhere or other, all completely in the dark, apparently, for some bendy nighttime driving in Night Racer, and blast a whole bunch of stuff from all kinds of angles and perspectives in the very crammed-in world of Typhoon. If refrigerated butter is ever presented to you, and it's quite hard to spread, throw it back in their face and say, Vala Magulis. We also clack our keyboards, listen to some weird news-like audio, and read a whole load of text as we try and fathom the complexities of The President is Missing. Jump on a scooter, not dressed as a ninja, or possibly dressed as a ninja. Did ninjas have scooters? We don't know. It's not really important. What is important is that we try and smash our way through the pointless obstacles of Ninja Scooter Simulator, explore the multi-screen adventure-strewn world of an egg, and avoid any kind of greased insertions in the magical and hopefully lubricated world of Dizzy before finally grabbing our best football kit and boots, throwing them on the floor because we don't need them, and exploring the binary options of the team boss in Football Manager 2. Ninjas, they're everywhere this week. Now remember, ninjas are trained martial artists and scooter experts, apparently. You are not. Do not try to imitate them.
That's as told.
And then they were beholden. The games have been beholden.
They have. They're beholden to something, all right, this week. I'm not quite sure what. Are you saying? Is it more usual 1988 fare? I feel it may be.
Well, it started in July and it went till August. Now we're in September and it's going to be the same. I've got a funny feeling. I don't want to ruin anything, but yes.
Yeah,
there are things afoot. And this, maybe there's light at the end of the tunnel. I don't know.
There is.
Tunnel.
It's a very long tunnel. There's not much light in this one. Anyway, before we get into those things, it is, as ever, our duty to discuss the cover.
It is.
So the cover this month features one of its biggest games this month, and it is the Last Ninjary 2, Ninjas on Skyscrapers.
Yes, diving down from the tops of a city. It's actually, I really like that cover. Really like it.
It's good. I have a point though to think on the clothing wheel. Like a color wheel. On the clothing wheel, are ninjas the opposite of barbarians? Because barbarians wear nothing but pants, and ninjas are completely covered up apart from their eyes. So it feels to me that they would be on opposite sides of the clothing wheel if a wheel of clothes was made.
Those are good observations. Unfortunately, you're basing it on the assumption that ninjas dressed like they do in the fantasy fiction world, and they really didn't.
Don't ruin my fiction. Don't. I like ninjas I like my men.
Carrying swords.
Absolutely.
And sheathed swords. So there's loads of things that you could pick apart. And then, the fact that the ninja's dressed the way he is because they don't dress like that. The fact that he's carrying that sword, which isn't a ninja sword because it's got a curved blade, as we all know. Ninjas don't have curved blade swords.
We all know.
The list could go on. Why is he climbing a building in what looks like espadrilles anyway? That's dangerous. That's just plain dangerous.
Yeah, it really is. Why has he got tied up white socks?
Yes, he's got his costume tucked into his socks. I'm sure that's a good idea. And there's no laces on this. So it's not like I don't know. Maybe he's rode a bike there. I mean that would be why you do that, isn't it?
Yeah, the guy he's knocking off as well. He's don't look too happy about it.
No, he's full on isn't he as well? He's really he's really going for it. No, it's good. It's a good classic dynamic action cover from Ollie Frey. Great stuff.
Yeah. Although his middle finger is a bit weird.
Yes, it is.
It's
What's going on there?
It's a bit bulbous. It's a bit bulbous of end knuckle.
It's very scrabbly, isn't he? His hands have gone very scrabbly.
Yeah.
But I suppose he's probably in pain, I guess.
He probably has been. He's been hit with a sword. There's blood. He's been sliced with a sword and knocked off a skyscraper. It's not ending well for this guy. There's a Wilhelm scream in that picture, if ever I've heard one.
There is a Wilhelm scream and a very determined eye on the ninja as well.
Very determined.
They're both either falling or quite high up, or this is just a very gaudy low angle shot, as it were.
Yeah, it's the cameraman stood on the floor, so he's not falling. He's not falling very far. He's like
Yes, it's all good though. I mean, obviously it's Last Ninja, so although technically it's not the Last Ninja, is it? It's there's a few now.
No, it's just Last Ninja 2. Exactly. So it's not the Last Ninja. He's just Last Ninja.
No, just Last Ninja now, because they can't be the Last Ninja, can they?
No, we can't be. So that says it's on the leading edge of arcade adventures.
Okay, yeah. There's some crazy stuff in there, so we'll get to that.
Yeah. Now, obviously, they're going for their and they've obviously started to sort of go for their in-house people, haven't they, with the PG tips thing at the bottom?
Yeah, PG that's the initials of the chap in it, is it?
Yeah, Paul. What's his face? I should know.
That would be PW.
Paul, what's his face? It really would.
Did they get that wrong? I don't like the language on it though. 32-page naughty pokes extravaganza. Oh, more maps and pokes than you can shake a stick at. Don't mix your metaphors like that around me. It's unnerving.
Unnerving, unnecessary. It's lots of things begin with un.
And then they got bored at the bottom, didn't they? Just competitions galore. Don't go any further into it than that.
They just ran out, didn't they?
Yeah. It's huge.
Is it Paul Glancy? Paul Glancy?
Yeah, something like that, isn't it? Yeah. Sounds familiar.
It does sound familiar. Let's see if I can see his name somewhere in the actual credits. It just says PG. Oh, who are these people? Paul Glancy, yes it is. Yes.
Paul Glancy, there he is. There's Paul Glancy as a teapot as well.
I know. I don't understand it myself, but yeah, they did just run out of space. Competitions galore.
Yeah.
I mean, the other week it was like £500 from Gremlin for giving some game a good review. At least they were honest.
And that guy's Amiga, that was just like, we're going to give you so and so's Amiga. Hey,
are they? Someone just turned up at his house one day. Here, we're the bailiffs. Give us your Amiga.
Yeah, there'll be a knock on the door. Who's there? Zap 64, open up. Come for the Amiga for the competition? I don't remember entering competition. You didn't enter it, sir. You're the prize.
Hand it over.
Hand it over now. But I'm using it. Now come along, sir. To paraphrase Monty Python there.
Indeed.
Anyway.
It is also 156 pages stuck up there in the top left.
Yes, it is. That's a whopper, actually. That's pretty heavy.
It is. They make a point of that in the editorial. Saying how it's going to be lots of stuff going on.
It's bulging. It's bulging with stuff.
It is bulging. Anyway, yeah, it's a decent cover. It's all right.
All right.
It's all right. Here we
Let's
go.
just minimise it. Yeah, it's all right.
It's all right. I don't mind it. It's not one of my favourites. I think there's too much space taken up with the building for my liking.
Yeah.
I would have liked it to be closer on the ninja on faux action.
Yeah.
But that's just me. Right, there you go. That's the cover. Should we get in some games? I think we should.
I think it's most likely the thing that comes next.
All right. Okay. Well, opposite the barbarian wheel we go. And Graham, you have the pleasure. You have the pleasure of telling us all about Last Ninja 2.
Wow. Okay. Big old shoes to fill with Last Ninja 2, wasn't it? Really. Mm-hmm. Last Ninja being, the Last Ninja being one of those all-important C64 games. It's in the kind of the top tier, isn't it, of C64 games. Speak about it with care, because if you can upset a lot of people by saying anything bad about ninjas and our Last Ninja.
Hushed tones and awe, I think are the words.
Yeah, and rightly so. The game was, of its time, amazing and a kind of a dedication to creating something that had a lot of visual complexity and there's a lot of stuff going on in that game. Doesn't seem like it when you first sort of approach it, but there's quite a bit in there. Now, this is Last Ninja 2, of course. Same team. So obviously this is from System 3, the same publisher. This is technically a Last Ninja 2 back with a vengeance.
Oh yeah,
So-
I forgot that title.
With the little
subtitle.
tagline, yeah.
I don't like it.
No, I don't know if I don't know if I like it either. It's anyway. We'll come to why it's back with a vengeance, or why it's all about that. The design here is Tim Best, same team from Last Ninja. Coding is John Twiddy. The excellent code here, actually, by John Twiddy. Little nod there, because some of the stuff in here is mind-bogglingly good. Graphics, Hugh Riley, again. Big nod, big doff of the cap to Hugh Riley, because he's turned in some goods here. And then the musicians have changed. So the musician was Ben Daglish and Anthony Lees in the old Last Ninja. Now it's Thumpy Matt Gray with his thumpy soundtracks. Always so thumpy. Always thumpy. Very thumpy. Okay, so let's dive into the instructions. I'm not going to... There's an entire beginning section of these instructions, which is the ninja, known as the mystic shadow warriors, were the elite fighting force of the 9th century feudal Japan. And then in the background of that, you could have like samurai swords, and that's kind of sound, I think, for that. I'm not going to read that any further, though. There's a couple of things to note. Firstly, because interestingly, actually, I did a little bit of ninja research for this, because you've got to, really. And,
is that what I read about in the paper the other night?
No, I didn't dress up in a ninja outfit. And now that is not a look that the world is ready for. I'm telling you, not me in a ninja suit. It's not. Nor would it be very stealthy. Just be brutally honest about it. No, very dark night, and you'd have to be deaf to not hear me. Deaf people would still hear me somehow. No, I'm not. I'm not svelte enough to be unnoticeable.
What's that at the back of the garden?
I can't hear it, but I can feel it thudding.
It's a ninja deer. It's one of those ninjas, dearie.
One of those ninjas. You've seen them before. Anyway, so I'm not going to go into detail about what ninjas are or are not. I just wanted to note, actually, that a significant proportion of some of the stuff about Last Ninja, so the Koga Scrolls, all that kind of stuff, that's actually, the Koga ninjas were actually a real thing. There was two large clans of ninjas in feudal Japan. Now, contrary to what you might think, they don't all have, magical powers and live in kind of ninja communes or anything like that. They're basically hired assassins, weren't they? So, and they were all hired by people that wanted them to do the stuff that they couldn't do, because, samurais were kind of honorable. And so to do something dishonorable was kind of a big no-no for them. So they would hire people to do their dishonorable deeds. And so ninjas were the people they had to do that. And ninjas famously, and this is where it does tie into The Last Ninja a little bit in a funny way, they were famous for being stealthy and all of those things, which meant they didn't generally walk around in jet black suits in broad daylight. Just, that's quite conspicuous for any ninja. So we're going to come back to this idea about ninjas doing that. And they were more about infiltration and things, sneaking into places and stuff like that. So that, and the reason why they did that at nighttime, obviously people were asleep and it was easier, but they didn't generally wear black either, strange enough. Anyway, all the stuff that's in the manual about the ninjas being nearly wiped out and all of that stuff, that did actually happen. That actually is a part of Japanese history. But Japanese history had a bit of a rewrite at a certain point, and it went some of the stuff that's actually true about the ninjas and about what was happening, and the stuff that later kind of got embellished to the point where they had all these powers of walking over, without leaving marks and disappearing in puffs of smoke and all that. No, that's not really true. That's kind of fantasy stuff. But there were real ninjas, and they did get wiped out by a particular shogunate, and there were two massive clans, and there were such things as the Koga Scrolls and all of that stuff that's sort of part of this philosophy of this game. That's part of that is real, which is quite interesting. So anyway, at the end of the last game, this picks up where the last game kind of ended. And at the end of the last game, all the ninjas were basically wiped out on the island of Lin Fen, apart from Kunitoki. He came back, was like, "Where you all gone? Oh, they're all dead." and then set about finding out why. And the evil shogun, it was Amakuni, wasn't it? And the evil shogun, Kunitoki, had killed them all. So we pick up the pieces after that. So according to the instructions then here, the struggle with the evil shogun Kunitoki had taken its toll. For many months after regaining control over the island of Lin Fen, Amakuni, the new master of the ninjutsu, fell into a deep depression at the loss of his brethren, which you would do, wouldn't you? You'd feel a bit down about that.
You'd be a bit bored, yeah.
Yeah, he reflected again and again and again upon his struggle against Kunitoki and always came to the same conclusion. It was only the end of a battle, not the end of a war. After more than a year of languishing upon Lin Fen, Amakuni was prepared to reinstate the way of the Shadow Warrior to its former glory. With the Koga Scrolls in his possession, all that Amakuni needed now were the disciples to follow his guidance and the teachings of the ancient manuscripts. As the word spread around the mainland, I like that. As the word spread, it's like, have you heard about Amakuni? He's got the Koga Scrolls and he's thinking of setting it all up again. Pass it on.
Extra, read all about it.
Read all about it. Amakuni's got the Koga Scrolls again. Extra. So as word spread about the mainland that a new master had scrolls and was about to begin training, the men began to arrive. Bit sexist because a large percentage of ninjas were women, just saying. They were the sons or daughters, I'm adding that in, of the fighting elite, the samurai.
Was there any love and laughter? Tears of sadness and happiness?
We will find out our sons. And by the way, samurai's children didn't often become ninjas. They were more often not peasants and villagers and people with no status. And a reason to be a ninja would be to gain money and financial gain.
Stop ruining my view of feudal Japan. Stop it.
It's important that you have these things in place. So anyway, a new order of ninjas slowly began to take shape, but this time the training was going to be more intense than ever before. Never again would they be caught off guard and be defeated without honor. They were all wiped out in one go, by the way, so probably need to learn from that. During a training session of the Inner Circle, by the way, this instruction manual was replete with emboldened words for no reason whatsoever. Just random boldness. Anyway, during a training session of the Inner Circle, which is in bold, the Masters Elite of the Elite, during a training session of the Inner Circle, the Masters Elite of Elite, a strange feeling came over the class. It was as if time had abruptly stood still, as if they were the only people left in the world. As Armakuni rose from his meditating position, a strange pulsating light enshrouded him. Concerned with what they saw, the class tried to rise and go to Armakuni's assistance, but they were fixed in their positions. No one could move. The intensity of the light grew around Armakuni until all who were witnessing the scene were forced to cover their eyes. When the light faded and finally disappeared, the students leapt to their feet. What happened? Happened is in bold. Where is the master? That's in bold also. What is happening? Shouted Armakuni. That's in bold too. That doesn't make sense to me, does it? But no one could hear him. It was as if he was invisible. And in a soundproof glass box. We have all been in that situation. I've been so many times found myself invisible in a glass box. Why wasn't his class rushing to his aid to help him break free? Why did he feel the sharp thorns of fear? Metaphors are happening again, aren't they? Mixed ones.
Yeah.
The sharp thorns of fear. Anyway, while inside he was as calm as the deep seas. What game were the ancients playing with him? His questions found no answers as he slipped unwillingly into unconsciousness. Now, that sentence there, that little bit, that made me think that these guys have been heavily reading those Way of the Tiger Ninja books.
Yeah.
Because this bit reads exactly like that.
That sentence, why did he feel the sharp thorns of fear while inside he was as calm as the deep seas? That makes no sense. That's
because the deep seas aren't calm.
But he's starting to feel fear, but he's not calm.
Slowly, Armakuni clawed his way back through the darkness of deep sleep. Okay, back to where he felt safe.
Awake.
Down. As he forced his eyes open, he was greeted by a sight that his experiences could not have prepared him for.
Why are these words boldened?
Well, I don't know. Armakuni is now standing on a hard wooden floor surrounded by strange objects that vaguely remind him of musical instruments. I'm just here to tell you, mate, it's not that strange. You are in a place surrounded by musical instruments. So there's no real... Anyway, behind him is a curtain parted slightly in the middle.
It sounds like he's about to go on stage and do a stand-up routine. He's having some kind of nightmare. I don't know any jokes. Woo, you suck.
I haven't studied. As he tries to focus his eyes on the surroundings, his mind is sent spinning. He sees strange, gigantic shapes covered with mirrors, reaching to the very doorstep of the heavens. Where am I? Shouts Armakuni, trying to get some control over his rushing emotions. He calls upon all of his reserves of courage. He must try to make sense of the insanity surrounding him, taking a moment to meditate, as we all do in situations of high extreme tension and stress.
Mirrors.
Armakuni suddenly experiences a strange and chilling sensation. He's done a shit. Let's just be honest. He's pooed in his ninja suit. There is a force in this land.
He's done a big Kuritoki.
Yes. There is a force in this land. A force he has not felt. Now, I'm sorry, but they've ripped off Star Wars here.
Yeah,
blatantly.
just a bit.
There is a force in this land. A force he has not felt since the battle with the evil Shogun, Kunitoki. Yeah. Could he be here? Has some cruel trick of fate brought the two of us together once again? Try magic more than cruel trick of fate, because you woke up in a completely strange place and you were a minute ago stood with all of your ninjas.
Yeah.
Anyway, as these thoughts rush through his mind, Armakuni begins to realize that their destinies must be forever intertwined. And wherever evil forces try to hold sway over mankind, Armakuni is the one chosen to vanquish it. Armakuni's immediate concern is to explore his surroundings. He must find some means of defending himself against the unknown dangers that lie before him. He was an expert in martial arts.
Also, that's quite the assumption to jump to.
His ninja skills and all that training coming into the fore here. I feel like I'm in danger.
Wherever evil is, I must fight. I'm drawn through time to fight it.
Well, there's a parted curtain and I'm surrounded by trumpets. I'm in mortal danger. I need a weapon of some kind.
Absolutely.
Grab a trumpet.
A brass band may break out at any moment,
Just grab a trumpet. That could be dangerous.
haunting me with deadly horns.
Although Amakuni was torn from his own time with nothing more than the clothes on his back, he has total belief. That's in bold for no reason.
No
in his
reason.
abilities. All right, so that's the instructions. I'm not reading any more of it. There's
Please don't.
It's Last Ninja stuff. And that's actually the reason I'm going through all of that is not just because it's interesting, but because it actually lies at one of the core things that I find difficult with this game. One of the core things. I'll come back to it, but just want to plant that there, that entire build-up has all led to him being stood in somewhere he's not familiar with no idea what he's meant to be doing. And that is interesting, isn't it, in a game like this? Let's just park that for a moment. So, as I said at the start, this has some big old shoes to fill, and the expectations obviously are incredibly high for this. So, I don't know if you're brave to releasing a sequel to this, or I don't know. But either way, they decided they were going to do it. Apparently, it was 800 man days according to the instructions that made this. Not 800 man days.
No, 8,000 man hours. I'm looking at it now.
8,000 man hours, which is what, 330 odd days?
It's a lot.
Something like that. So it's quite a lot. So probably a year in the making, which sort of makes sense. Probably longer than that. Anyway, let's sort of take a bit of a dive into the game. So the second installment of the amazing C64 Last Ninja franchise, here we go. Once again, obviously we're players Mamakuni, and once again we slip into our somewhat conspicuous in the daytime ninja outfit. And head out on what is, at this point, a mission of discovery. And you are back with a vengeance for some reason, I guess, because you don't really know what you're revenging against. Revenging is not a word, but no. Well, I guess, so at this point, it's kind of sort of about that. The details involve you waking up mysteriously in New York, where the game is set, in nothing but your ninja clothes, and after magically vanishing from Linfen and appearing in the city. It sounds to me, and based on the instructions, it's kind of a giveaway, really, that this all has something to do with that Shogun Knobhead Kunatoki up to some kind of dastardly trick. So the aim of the game is to find that out then, I guess, at this point then. So, because I don't know, is that the aim of the game? Is the aim of the game to find Kunatoki? You don't know he's involved yet.
No.
Is the aim of the game to, what am I doing? I'm a ninja in New York. I'm a ninja. I'm a ninja. I'm a ninja in New York.
The lesser known Sting song. Oh, I'm a ninja.
I'm a funky ninja. Anyway. So the general display type and demeanor of the game are in the same vein as The Last Ninja. The main chunk of the game takes place in the greater proportion of the top left of the game window in kind of a rectangle. To the right of that, on the right of the screen, is your weapon using holding status. Under that, in the bottom right-hand corner, is your ninja face, which blinks, and some city graphics. At the bottom of the screen is your current power and the power of your enemies, shown again as kind of scrollies. And your score and timer adjacent to this. It's not dissimilar from The Last Ninja. There's a little bit of shifting things around and leaving your enemies with more or less the same energy as you this time, because it was just a small straight bar in The Last Ninja, so it wasn't. So they've actually got as much energy as you. That's an important thing to note in this game.
Yes.
The graphics are good. There's no if and or buts. They look really nice and detailed, and on a CRT, they look really good.
Yeah.
The general character design is about the same, but with some slight variations of the moves. I think there's looks a little bit nicer in this, I think.
Yeah.
The control is via the joystick, where you operate Amakuni with a kind of the same, similar, almost the same rotational method that you used in The Last Ninja. It takes a bit of getting used to, it has to be said, and I actually found this more difficult to control for some reason than Last Ninja. I don't know if that's just me, but I found myself fighting the controls at some point. I will come back to that though. But it's basically the same as Last Ninja, only a bit more. So it's a bit more punchy, I think, and that made it more fiddly for me. I found it. My joystick was clicking like crazy. I was over clicking massively. It was, it sounded like it sounded bad. It sounded like I was going to see a chiropractor or something. It was crazy. Did you know there's 3 modes in this game for where you can control it, which is really weird.
Yeah.
So you can press the J key and it changes it between modes 1, 2, and 3. Now, it confused the shit out of me. I pressed mode 1 and all of a sudden I was pushing forward and it went backwards. I'm like, oh God, no.
But just
so then I pressed went to mode 3.
It rotates you, doesn't it? It rotates it 45 degrees or something each way. And it's like, what?
Yeah, you think it just breaks your brain. It's just it's a fiddly enough control system without making it even fiddlier with changing the angles of things. I was like, oh no. So I just went for mode 2, which was normal. The details of the environments you're exploring and are some of the finer graphics you're going to see on a Commodore 64 game at this point. Really is really good. There's some really nice details, really clever use of the color palette to give you sort of tonal colors and sort of backgrounds and things. They really are amazing, I have to say. Really, really good stuff. You'll quickly notice the combat in this game is a lot tougher than Last Ninja. And this is directly due to the extra energy of your enemies. And so you may want to think about the avoidance as a tactic instead of getting into a dust-up every time, which is actually more ninjary. That's not a word. I've invented that. It's not a person. It's not an injury for a ninja. A ninjary. Oh, no, I've got an injury.
I fell over, hurt my knee. I've got an injury.
My knee. There's a ninja over there. He's hurt himself. Yeah, he's got an injury. But it is actually... it is actually more ninjary to be avoiding fighting. That's the point. The point of being ninjas. Yeah, it's more ninjary. So I think you could have done with other costumes other than your black shizuku. That's what it's called, apparently. The costume. See, research. We're generally leaving you looking less like a ninja on a vengeance mission and more. Well, it would just leave you looking less ninjary, wouldn't it, if you didn't walk around in a ninja outfit?
Less ninjary, yeah. You'd just be a regular guy.
Yeah, which is good. Less conspicuous, easier to infiltrate, better.
Yeah.
No reason to walk around Central Park dressed as a ninja unless you're looking for trouble. Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, today you just think you're going cosplaying somewhere, so you'll be fine.
You start waving a sword around, though, you're going to be in big trouble, especially in Central Park, because that has all sorts of connotations. Anyway, you explore the rooms, locations, paths, which are all flick screen, but in that fast draw way that the Last Ninja used. It's a tad quicker to display, I think, here. They're a bit quicker on the draw. And in the game, of course, you've got to look for clues, switches, hidden weapons, keys, food, that kind of thing. All of which is positioned precariously on the floor or on the side of something, all which is impossibly difficult for a ninja of such ability to reach.
He's crap. I'm just going to say it. He's just so rubbish. He can jump, he can wheel swords, but can he pick shit up? No.
He can't pick up. I had trouble picking up a hot dog.
Yeah, so did I.
And that did not please me, let me tell you. And I think the idea of ninjas eating hot dogs, though, that's why I was determined to get it. That ninja is eating that hot dog. Anyway, so that's the kind of thing in the game you got to do. And like I said, and picking things up in this game is one of the biggest pains in the arse of the whole game.
Yeah.
Anyway,
especially when the things you have to pick up are not even on screen, but hidden in the scenery.
Yeah,
I don't even know if I'm bending over.
Don't. I mean, all of that is designed to help you progress through the various stages. So the idea is that you pick up things along the route and then you'll work your way through to the end of the level and it'll say, if you haven't got the right things for it, it'll ask you if are you sure you want to progress? Because, in other words, you haven't picked everything up. But if you have, you get to the next level and then there's more loading, stuff like that. So here in this game, the stages are Central Park, the streets, not I don't think I will pull you. Not that street. So that would be brilliant, wouldn't it, if it adopted that soundtrack. I know it's hard to take, but all your ninja mates have been murdered. There's plenty more ninjas in the sea.
Plenty more men to train.
Dry your eyes, mate. Yeah, it could be that version of the streets.
It could be.
Could just up a nice image of him, just a ninja with his tears coming, just running down the side of his mask.
with a sort of small cockney next to him, singing at him.
I'm not trying to kill you, even though I would like to. Anyway, following on from the streets, there's the sewers, then there's the basement, the office, the mansion, and then the final battle. Each of these, of course, is accompanied by a fab soundtrack from Matt Gray. Some heavily inspired by Tangerine Dream. When I say heavily inspired, I mean very inspired. But they still sound really great. And there's others as well. They're all really good thumpy Sid tunes, all of them. They're really thumpy in this game. Very city-led. You can see why they chose Matt Gray for the music, because his music lends itself to that kind of cityness, urban type stuff. I think it's really good. It keeps the tone of the game where it should be, and I quite like it for that. And there's lessons they've learned from Last Ninja as well. There is certainly less wandering around lots of long paths in this. There's less long paths, that's for sure. Long path is not an enemy you fight, by the way. Ironic twist. There's just less long paths.
There's only one. And he's at the end of level 3. Boy, is he tough. He's tough. He goes on forever. Ever.
One path? That's long path's brother. Oh, it's all getting confusing now. Anyway, so there's less of the journeying through that. And there are pickups and places to explore. Now, some of them are more obvious because they're just right there. Some of them less so, like the nunchucks being in the ladies' toilets. Weird. And just stuff like that. It's not immediately obvious.
Makes me think what they've been used for.
Enemies have a patrol and attack site.
It's only one half of them.
Yes, true. And then there are, I can't remember which weapons you get to pick up. I think they're essentially the same. There's the shuriken stars, there's the staff, there's the sword, there's the
shit
nunchucks. there's the shit on a stick. Wave the shit under their noses. Oh, that's been in dog shit, hasn't it? Yes. Ninja dog shit. Anyway. Anyway, enemies have a patrol and attack cycle in this, and when beaten, stay beaten or unconscious for a time. That is a nice thing that it does.
I'd rather
It is
just
quite a
stay
nice
dead.
thing.
I'm
Yeah,
perfectly
but,
honest.
Yeah, but sometimes I've noticed sometimes they did. It was weird. Sometimes some of them stayed dead. If you beat them twice, they died. But sometimes sometimes they came back. Anyway, so you can see their energy going up. So it gives you a little timeline as well. And your energy does regain as well. You do regain if you stood around a bit. It will go up a little. You can avoid them as well if you want to. It's right now. Let me tell you something. I decided that I was going to try avoiding fighting in this because I thought I'm going to try and play this like a real ninja. Ninjas didn't just run around breaking out poo sticks and sticking under the cops' noses going, hey! They avoided combat really because they're trying to be inconspicuous. It's not easy to do this. I ended up doing what would have looked like a ninja doing an impression of Hank Marvin in front of every policeman. He's like, shuffling forwards, then backwards to the side, spinning round, a couple of somersaults. Just doing a random version of the Apache song. Didn't work. They just kind of blocked me in and started beating me. So I just had to, thump them with my fists and feet. Anyway. So you can avoid them with some nifty footwork and somersaulting, but that's probably you're not really going to be able to do it for long. Some of the policemen in the game, because there are policemen, different characters, enemy characters in it, such as they are. Some of them policemen threw shuriken stars at me, which I'm pretty sure they don't do. So I'm not so sure what's going on there. So combat is either hand to hand with kicks and punches or with weapons as you find them. The moves are all pulled off in a similar way to the Last Ninja. So obviously fire button pressed and angular movements will do the somersaulting and the movements and things like that. You kind of rotate the joystick round to move round. Fire button will then, a spacebar breaks out your weapon, whichever weapon you've chosen in the display. And then obviously if it's a poo sticky, they waves it under their nose or, some of the weapons don't work so good close up. Some of them do. They've different length of move. It's very like Last Ninja, that part. There's not a great deal of variation there. So you'll need to sort of find these weapons or you're never going to do this game in a million years, ever. You're never going to get through it with just fists and feet. It's just not going to happen.
Nope.
There's a lot less of the instant death stream jumping in this, at least, or fighting magic dragons with puffs of smoke and things like that. There's a more grounded feel to the levels, at least the early ones, but there's still that odd sense of weird punishment for things like falling off a wall and stuff that ninjas wouldn't die from.
Nope.
This is the last serious trained man who's just trained an entire army of ninjas that watched him disappear in a puff of smoke. I'm sensing that if he gets foiled by falling off a garden wall, they're not going to take him so seriously. No. Is he really a ninja? I'm pretty sure
trained by.
Yeah.
Who's this guy?
Can I see some kind of ninja ID or something? You don't seem very ninjary to me.
I reckon
anyway.
the whole tale at the beginning of the first one was he's actually the gardener who just picked up a ninja suit. That's why.
Fancied being. Anyway, so those punitive moments kind of haunt the game a bit, I think, here. Mm-hmm. They're fewer and further between the Last Ninja, but there's still some of them in there, like when you're jumping across wall gaps and you just fall down the gap and die, and
or jumping
silly
on a boat.
Things like that.
Still can't bloody swim.
No, ninjas that can't swim. And they don't, the sheaths of their sword are actually blowpipes and also water pipes when they go underwater.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway, but they don't. I'm sensing that Armakuni is not the ninja he made himself out to be.
No, it's Garda.
Some ninjas, some guys there with a ninja, but with the idiot's guide to being a ninja, and he's going, hang on a minute, it says here.
They were all killed. So who's to say he's the last ninja?
Yes, true. Okay. The main ninja and all the enemies are well animated, and it works in multiple directions, which is both an achievement and a curse. It can leave the controls feeling more fiddly, that they should be more fiddly than they should be, and that often means running, jumping, and fighting get confused in what it's doing in what direction at any time, which can and will lead to frustration on more than one occasion. I lost count the amount of times I ran towards a policeman, then suddenly sort of turned the wrong way, and I was just facing the wrong way, and then it's like a rotation to turn back, and I just looked like an idiot. As you progress through the graphics and puzzles, such as they are, things get better and better with the later levels, and they really do start to look amazing. The graphics really do up the ante as the game goes through towards the end of the levels. The last 2 or 3 levels, they really are good. There's a lot of detail in them, a lot of detail in the game, and you can't but admire how much they got out of the C64 in terms of its graphic and its user color. It really is quite amazing. The loader for this is a bit of a pain, but we played a cracked version, and the original was probably faster and better. This cracked version is a cracked loader that we've played, which is not the original Last Ninja 2 loader. So I found that the loading seemed to be a lot longer, but that's because they'd repacked and redone the loader. So this is not the System 3 loader that's on our version. So I imagine, because the tape version has a nice loading system and it's pretty fast. It loads the next level while you're playing the first level, a bit like Dragon's Lair did.
Right,
so
okay.
it's there's a little bit of that going on. It appeared on multiple computers. Did you know that? This particular one.
Yeah, it did, yeah.
Including the Amstrad, Spectrum, BBC, and MS-DOS. Weird. I had a quick view of the other versions, which meant the loud colours of the BBC version nearly burned out my retinas. so much bright yellow and red. It was bad. It was bad. My eyes are still kind of sore. The Spectrum and Amstrad version looked good, albeit colourless. The Atari XL version was support from the BBC, so my eyes were burning again. The 16-bit versions were okay-ish, but the Atari ST version looking a bit over-detailed and cluttered. And the Amiga version, more detailed, but with a weird and oddly animated main sprite. And the same drawings of the backgrounds as the C64. So when you go on the Amiga version, you go to the screen, it draws it. I'm like, why does the Amiga do that? I don't think the Amiga needs to do that, does it?
No.
Really strange. So it's odd that the processing power and graphic umph of the Amiga would require it to draw it on the screen like that. It's really weird. Anyway.
Well, that BBC version is bright yellow and green, isn't it?
Yeah. You just careful your eyes. Shield your eyes now.
Christ.
Yeah, you need a welder's mask. So this has been a long review, and I've waxed lyrical about it and stuff. But there are things to like about the C64 version, and there's things I don't like. The setting is good, but and it seems more directionless. That's my big problem with the Last Ninja 2. It just feels a bit directionless. It feels like you're a ninja in New York, and then just find stuff. So you kind of like say a ninja in New York, you've got to find stuff, and then I don't know. The central purpose just seems vague, and I think that affects the gameplay. The graphics are exceptional, and the characters, etc., they're all really good. The controls are fiddly, and sometimes seem to have a bit of a mind of their own. But I would imagine that some consistent play would probably resolve that over time. The puzzles, well, are they puzzles? Hit switches, find stuff that's in a plant pot. I don't know. This is a lot more of the flick screen combat game. This is a lot more of a flick screen combat game. And while the combat is actually pretty tough, when you kill or stop an enemy, they do sometimes stay down to live, for example. That is quite a good thing, but I don't know. It's just if you took that out, what would it really? If you didn't have so much of that, I mean, it would just be you rummaging around plant pots for keys, or there wouldn't be a lot of ninjary stuff. It doesn't feel very ninjary. And anyway, so flicking between the screens can cause weird enemy resets of position. I don't know if you noticed that. So you get pushed off the screen, go back on the screen, and then all of a sudden the policeman's gone, "Hey, how did you get there?" Which is annoying sometimes. And sometimes you're facing the wrong direction when you enter or exit a space. So I walked in facing forwards and come out facing sideways, which is dead annoying when stupid stuff like that happens.
Yep.
It's not so much the path, but more of how you face in the game in this that requires you to turn the play around with the joystick in that, and that's annoying in small spaces. In a small amount of time sometimes that you've got, that whole rotational thing can get quite annoying, because you'll go to rotate and you'll go backwards, and you're like, hang on, stop, rotate round. It's like, ninjas don't normally have that. They're meant to be like super agile.
It's far too tricky to turn around when you pick up the stick, to just turn around on the top of that rock. You're on that sort of rickety brick thing. You got sort of you're like
rotate round. But having said all of that, there's no denying the game has a really good thumping soundtrack. It moves at a good pace. There's plenty to fight or avoid if you want to do the old Hank Marvin shuffle. If you like Last Ninja, as I loved Last Ninja, then this is a strong sequel to that game. It's not doing anything that game didn't do, and it's picked up on some of the things that did annoyingly, and it's pushed on it a little bit. Does it have the magic that came together for the Last Ninja? Not quite. Is there too much brown in this game? Maybe there is.
Too much grey.
Too much grey. Are the locations too cluttered? Are there too many enemies? I don't know. These are questions. And more to the point, how ninjary is this ninja game? At least the previous one was set on Lin Fen Island. It felt Japanese, and it felt like it was part of that universe. Take that out, put it in a city. It's a bit like Predator 2. Parts of it just don't work. At all. So it's worth a full revisit at any point, this game. It certainly is, because it's good. And it's certainly a sizzler. I'm glad it didn't get a gold medal, because it would never have been gold medal material. 94%. It's a good score, this. Go replay it. See what you think. Just remember, there's more to being a ninja than just waking up in a room full of trumpets. So what did you? And I'm sorry if I've gone on for ages, but what did you think?
No, that's fine. Before I get into what I think, did you read the first paragraph of the instruction booklet?
I did.
I'm just going to read it. I'm going to read it out here, because never has an instruction booklet started with such a self-aggrandizing paragraph. It says, rarely does a company make as dramatic an impact as did System 3 Software with the award-winning game The Last Ninja. This software innovation proved to be a major advance in home computer entertainment, achieving critical acclaim from the media and game players around the world. Yeah, right. I mean, fair enough, but it just seems odd to put that in the instruction booklet. It's just weird.
Yeah.
But because next to that is a T-posed, a sort of mudman who looks crap.
Why is that there?
I don't know. There's loads of weird things in this. Why is it like on page 9? There's like a 1940s detective.
Yeah, why? Why is that there?
I don't know. The Mudman's back
really
on page
weird,
15. Yeah, it's just just a detective. Why not?
Just random graphics, yeah.
It's very odd, this instruction booklet. And I was looking through it, and all those bolded words mean no sense.
No, and it's full of samurais, but it's not full of ninjas.
Well, the ninjas can't be seen.
Yeah, well, they can. Well, yeah, right.
Yeah, they can, though. You can. So why
disguised as that crocodile or whatever it is.
Whatever that is, anyway.
Why is it there?
I don't know. Anyway, what's this? It's more Last Ninja. It's more Last Ninja, but now in modern day New York for some reason. I don't get. It's probably technically better than the first game with some extra definition on the sprites, some smooth animation by the looks of it. But, it's still that same kind of fighting and exploration and punishing jumps and the like from the first game. So the design, I don't think, has progressed in any way, shape or form from 1 to 2. I think it's the same game, just with different level graphics. I mean, and that's not a bad thing if you like this sort of thing. That's fine. But as you said, and as I've noticed as well, what it has lost, though, is the atmosphere. And that, for me, was always the downside of this one over the first. I'll always prefer playing a ninja in feudal Japan over someone cosplaying as one through modern day New York. It just doesn't work. It's simply because I prefer the aesthetic. I prefer the classic ninja, feudal Japan, all that sound, and the sound effect, the music, the great music. Everything came together in the Last Ninja to produce that piece of software that captured in 8-bit form, in 8-bit Commodore 64 film in 1987, that perfect timing of place, feeling of music, everything worked. We said at the time the gameplay's okay, but it was everything that was wrapped around it that held it up. And I think that's lacking here. No doubt in the technical expertise, and it's probably better, but it doesn't work as well. That's what I think. And like you said, beyond this, some of this makes no sense. Why do the cops and muggers throw shurikens? In the original game, that was thematically consistent. Here, not so much. Like, it's just stupid. Why do jugglers lob knives at you? Like, this is, that don't happen. I don't know. Maybe it did in 1980s Central Park. Don't think it did, though. They get arrested. And it also hasn't done anything to fix the fiddly nature of picking stuff up. Why can I not just run into stuff and pick it up?
Yeah. Legit question, that.
And I just don't get it. Why make me do that
Butterfingers ninjas
crouch thing? It's also got 2 ways of picking stuff up now as well. It's got the full crouch to the floor and the sort of half crouch.
Like, the old way.
Yeah, and I just don't like either. Just let me run into the objects and pick them up. There you go, job done. Takes so much of the fiddliness, and then would also give you extra things on the joystick to do with combat. Maybe So you've got more things than just the up down left right ones. You could have the diagonals as well. Suddenly, combat could be a bit more interesting.
Well, apparently in this game, it's got a block. But I never used it, and I couldn't ever do it. At least not knowingly. So
no, I didn't.
Never blocked anything.
I tried it, but no, never seemed to work. Because trying to get your arms to line up with them, it's a pain in the ass. And I don't like you said, trying to run past stuff. I tried to jump around, I tried to do that, but they could just sort of get at the side of you, and then they just stop you. And you're like, because of the fiddly nature of the controls, it's just a nightmare to try and get away.
Yes, yes it is.
Because turning round is if you're running one way, you have to turn 45 degrees and then 45 degrees again.
They always push forward, don't they? So if they're coming at you and you're trying to get past, they just push forward all the time, and eventually, so if you go back, they run forward. So you can't really get past them. You have to go off the screen and go back on again.
So I sound like I'm being really negative on this. I'm not. I did enjoy my time with it. It's good. It's not as good as the first game for those reasons that I don't particularly. For me, it's reading those not Last Ninja books, the Way of the Tiger books. They they felt they had a time and a place. They felt right. They had an atmosphere. They had a sense of place.
They were more ninjary.
They're more ninjary. Yeah, oh, my knee. I've had a ninjary. This doesn't feel like it just feels like the problem is I'm just reminded of our old friends who used to run around the Wybers in ninja suits, which is just that.
Yes. They did.
And like the opening scene, why do I have to, what kind of bandstand is this where I have to go punch a flashing thing on a wall to open a trapdoor?
Oh, I know.
What's that guy doing up there? How does he get down? Is he trapped up there forever?
Why have they left the key on the floor, but hidden other things in plant pots? It's just, well, I don't know.
I don't understand. There's lots of this I don't get. Why can I still not swim? One of the things they put in the instructions as well, is right. Where is it? Because we are always conscious of your demands for ever better products, we have incorporated many of your suggestions in this game. For example, playing against the clock and having a score to relate your performance to. No one wanted that. No one.
No one asked that. No. Ninja time.
People wanted to be able to swim.
Yeah.
And not die over those bloody rocks. I don't know.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm sound like I'm down on this. I'm not. It's a very good game. It's probably worth its 94%, but I think it just rubs me up a little bit the wrong way compared to the first one. And I always felt that way back in the day. It never connected like the first one connected.
No.
Time and place, right combination of things in that first game that just hit in a certain way. There was nothing else like it. This Last Ninja like this, and Last Ninja's better, I think. Even though it's probably not, even though it is, I don't know. Like you said, Last Ninja is more fiddly with those bloody rock jumps and dragon stuff and things like that. But this didn't fix enough of it for me. Anyway, there you go. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's not ninja. It's not ninjary enough.
It's not ninjary.
Be more like ninjary. I want to be more ninjary. Be more ninjary stuff.
Yeah.
Better ninjas.
Why? I don't know why. What point did they go? Let's put it in. I mean, because there were a lot of like American Ninja and stuff. Those kind of films, weren't there?
You've answered your own question. Why have they put it in the city? Because there was loads of stuff in the city around that
with
time.
With ninjas, yeah. But they were in New York because it was cheaper to film.
Well.
It's not cheap. It doesn't matter what you draw; they're just pixels.
It's the same. It's the same choice as Predator 2. Why did Predator 2 go to where it went in the city? Because where do you go with it?
Yeah, it's cheaper to film.
And this, I mean, I don't know if it means that the backgrounds are easy to make, but it is lots of walls, and I mean they're amazing to look at, but they are a lot more walls and things, and less detailed little oriental paths and things.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. Maybe it just, I don't know. Maybe it's something to do with that. Maybe it's
I don't know. I think that's probably our longest review ever. Good Lord, there you go. That's Last Ninja 2. It's confused us, confuzzled us, and left us wanting more ninjary stuff. I don't know. No, I don't know what else to say. It's taken us a long time to just say we wanted more ninjary stuff.
Sports ninjary. I've got sports ninjary.
I will say, though, that it is the best ninja game we'll look at in this episode.
Oh, they're not wrong there.
So I'll leave that one there as we move on to our next one.
And of course, we've always got the third one to look forward to at some point.
We do. I don't think I've ever played the third one, so it'll be interesting to play that one.
The third one is very, very good.
All right, okay. Well, I'll look forward to that one. Let's move on. And our next one is a budget title. This got a grand old total of 10%. This is Rogue. Now, this is a strange release in 1988, I think. So Mastertronic clearly got the license for this from somewhere and released a port for the 8-bit machines of the time, because they released it for the Spectrum, the Amstrad, the Atari 8-bit machines, and of course the C64. So, and for some reason, they've just gone, oh, we've got Rogue, we're just going to do it. So for those who don't know what Rogue is, Rogue itself is one of those sort of seminal games from the early 80s that did something clever and different to what a lot of other games were doing. It kind of sort of became its own thing in a way. So from the wiki, I looked at the wiki and it says Rogue, also known as Rogue Exploring the Dungeons of Doom, is a dungeon-crawling video game by Michael Toy and Glenn Wickman with later contributions by Ken Arnold. Rogue was originally developed around 1980 for Unix-based mini-computer systems as a freely distributed executable. It's turn-based, taking place on a square grid represented in ASCII or other fixed character set, allowing players to have time to determine the best move to survive. Rogue implements permadeath as a design choice to make each action by the player meaningful. Should one's player character lose all his health via combat or other means, that player character is simply dead. Now, I know that sort of, that happens a lot, but it's just the way that the player must then restart with a fresh character, as the dead character cannot respawn or be brought back from reloading from a save state. Moreover, and this is the different part, no game is the same as any previous one, as the dungeon levels, monsters, encounters, and treasures are procedurally generated for each playthrough. So this was, you had one go at it. You couldn't learn it. You kind of learnt strategies to deal with monsters and things like that, but it was one run, and if you did it, well done. If you didn't, you had to start again, and you couldn't carry knowledge forward or experience forward or anything forward, because it was going to be completely different every time. And that's why this game spawned not just imitators, but its own genre and subgenres, the roguelike and the roguelite. Don't confuse the pair of them. This version of the game, so roguelikes are games that are like Rogue. Roguelite take the elements of Rogue, like permadeath, but are not so punishing. So you might gain experience for the next run. you might get weapons for the next run. So recent games like Dead Cells, Rogue Legacy, they're roguelites, things like that. Anyway, this version of the game stays pretty true to the original, so it's definitely a roguelike. The game itself, as you venturing down a series of dungeons, like the first, in order to retrieve the Amulet of Yendor, which is Rodney backwards, if you didn't know.
Dear me. There we go.
I don't know if it's supposed to be, but it is. It's Rodney backwards. So I was thinking, is this, Only Fools and Horses inspired? Probably not. This stays true to the original in that it features random dungeons and permadeath. So each run is a one-off, and the next one features a new layout, and any objects you've acquired are gone. Now, yeah, Zapped gave this a panning, 10%. Okay, referring to it as a gauntlet clone. That's pretty wide of the mark. This is not a gauntlet clone. It's not. It was never intended to be. It's Rogue. And Rogue predates Gauntlet by some 4 years or so. So it's a very different type of game altogether. I'm not saying this is a good game, but I'm saying that review and the reasons behind their review seem odd. It seemed like, this is, with the top-down dungeon crawlers who used to do all this. It's like, yeah, this is Rogue. This is not Gauntlet. It's not supposed to be a Gauntlet-like. They're different types.
Is it pitched as one, though? Kind of thing?
I don't think so. No, it's pictures Rogue. I don't know. This is what I don't know at the time. I mean, it's £2. It is what it is. It's what it. I don't know. When the game loads, you put in your name and you start in a small part of the dungeon. The game works. This game works on a character scrolling basis, and it has removed that turn-based element from the original. So it has done things a little bit different. It's a bit odd. You control a cursor. You don't control your player. You control a cursor. That you move about, and when you press fire, your character moves towards that point on the map that you've clicked on, or that point in space, because the map reveals as you move. So you can't see the whole map as you start; you just see the area around you. And as you move through the map, it reveals itself. So they'll move towards where you click until like they hit a wall, or they can't go any further in that direction for whatever reason. So yeah, as you move, you reveal more of the dungeon, and you find treasure and food and monsters to fight. On the right of the screen is your inventory. This starts you with a mace, some armor, a crossbow, and some food. You have to equip these when you first start, so move on to them. So move on to the mace and the armor and wear them or wield them. Otherwise, you're just running around with no weapon and with no armor on, which is probably going to get you killed quite quickly. There are more things to pick up that exist in the dungeon. There are spells and rings. You don't really get any explanation for what they are. You just got to kind of try them, see what they do, which is kind of like the old Rogue game. It's like just trial and error. It's just finding stuff. And everything's randomized, so who knows what you're going to get. There's better weapons and armor as well. Along the top of the screen are some commands that allow you to navigate the stairs of the dungeon. So you find them. That's how you progress up and down. So there's up and down, so you can go up and down the squares. You can search the squares around you for traps. So they're basically, remember, it's a character-based thing. So the 8 squares that sort of surround you, if you press search, it will test them for traps. And you can rest as well to gain some health back. At the bottom of the screen are your hit points, your strength, your armor rating. You can see where this has all come from. It's heavily influenced by Dungeons and Dragons and things, so there's those kind of elements in it as well. And a message section, so that it sort of scrolls up. It keeps you updated, on what is going on as you wander around the dungeon. So, as a monster appears, you're attacking it, it's nearly dead, and so on and so forth. So they have updated the visuals. I will say that, because obviously the original used simple ASCII characters. So it was just letters and things like that. However, this uses a very bland colour palette of greys and blacks. It's not a particularly good-looking game. In fact, it's quite dreary and drab. And I think they could have done a bit more with it. The awful combo of red and blue for the UI and the surrounding border, the red border and the blue UI, it's not a good combo. It's really not, it's not a good combo, this. It makes this is a really ugly looking game. The characters are not pretty well defined as well. So it scrolls at a character at a time pace. You have to get quite close to the edge of the map before it starts scrolling. So it's jerky as well. It does move fast, but, I just found that there was no sense of danger because I couldn't tell what the monsters are. And I know that's kind of roguelike, but I didn't know how to really to fight them. I couldn't see a command to fight. I just kind of ran around them until they died or I died. And I don't know if I missed something, but I was wielding a mace, so I don't know. Maybe I was clicking on them to hit them. I didn't really know what was going on, if I'm honest. And the instructions tell you absolutely naff all. So yeah, there's barely any sound effects. Nothing. There's nothing to draw you in. There's no atmosphere to this. It's dull. It's really it's and it's also possible to spawn right next to a monster because the procedural nature of this, which should never happen. They should do something about this at the start of a run and be dead before you know it because you can't get your mace and armor on quick enough before the monster's killed you. That's a no-no. No, don't do that. There are other bits to it. You can see the full map that you've explored. You tap the T button. Why is it not M? What's T? unintuitive choices like this. It's weird. And when you click on something in your pack, you have to press the letter that starts the word to do it. So okay, so that is so it's a mix. Some of it's intuitive, some of it's unclear. I thought I was pressing on it. I was moving my cursor over to say wheeled, and pressing the fire button. It didn't even occur to me to press W. Why would it? There's nothing. It's this mix of inputs that are never really explained, and so it's kind of a weird one. Like I said, I didn't really know how the combat works, despite reading the instructions. So it's all a lot of wandering around grey rooms, looking for some stairs, and then dying. That's what I got from this. I know it's not the same. If I want to play something like this, I'll just go play Master of Magic. And that came out 2 years ago, and I know it's not a roguelike. It's not a procedural dungeon. But it's the same kind of vibe to this, just way, way better. It's far more entertaining and enjoyable to play. I don't think this was about a 10%, but I don't think it's a particularly very good game. It's ugly and a bit chunky, but I think it's just they've misinterpreted it. Maybe, I don't know. It's a low score because it's a bit of a mess and it could have been a lot better, and it should have been a lot better, really. But yeah, Rogue. It's for a game that has been so influential as it is now. It's quite disappointing to see such a poor version of it back then. There you go. What did you think to this? Probably hated it, I imagine.
Same sort of problem, really. I realised that it was a variation of Rogue, but it wasn't very good variation of Rogue. They'd just taken what is essentially a good idea and just scrambled it around on the screen in a way that was just unplayable, really, and not very fun. It just had horrible controls. These sort of games either need better explanations as to what things do and a little bit more. The UI needs to be a bit more easy to read and understand. Just all this stuff's a bit bitty and a bit all over the place. The graphics make it look really bad. They don't need to be done that way. But this is the point. We played a rogue type game as well, but another one from a while ago, which was a budget type game, I seem to recall. And one way it was like a procedural tower that you had to climb up. And I remember you saying at the time that was like Rogue.
Hall of the Things.
Hall of the Things.
Hall of the Things.
That was, wasn't graphically amazing, but it was certainly better visually than this one is. It's just like weird controls. It's controlling what looked like a hooked arrow.
Yeah.
And an icon and moving that around. And that just isn't the way that you've got to get into the mind of your audience here. You've got gamers, teenage gamers, younger gamers, Mastertronic, this price range, $199. This is going to be bought by aunties and uncles for kids. They're just not going to be impressed with this. As much as the game might be amazing behind the scenes, but they've got to get past that visual complexity and unpick all that. And to do that, it's just going to ruin it. Mm-hmm. So clearly a great game from a long time ago. Just this is not a good version of it. I couldn't get it to do much of anything. I couldn't really get anywhere. I managed to get myself equipped with things, and then I'm not sure what I was doing. And the icon thing just did my head in. It wasn't quite as quick as all the bad typeface choices. They really did my head in quite fast.
Yeah.
And the terrible icon design, I could not find a way into it. The only decent thing about this was that it had the Invader load on the tape, which is on the tape version. It's got the Invader load with a nice Rob Hubbard soundtrack, and that's actually pretty good. So you might have probably got more fun out of the Invader load than you would have actually the game, because once you start the Invader load, you can just stop the tape and just carry on playing that forever.
Yeah, probably.
So I think 10% is a fair score for this. I'm not saying it's a fair score for a Rogue game that would be good, but it's a fair score for this version of it. It's just not a very good Rogue game, so no.
Maybe.
No. £2. I think £2's a lot for what they've done.
Yeah. Just to say as well, it was
behind the scene.
This version was developed by Front Room Team, but created by PD Marshall. I also do just want to mention as well the cover, which has...
Well, this is what led me to think that it was pitched wrong, completely incorrectly.
Yes, he's got like a burly, purist burl barbarian with a sword with a really weird face that looks kind of pig-like. It's really odd. But it's the weird thing in the background, because there's just a woman in a bikini manacled up. And she's not in a fantasy bikini like you saw like Maria Whittaker on the cover of Thingy with that sort of gold sort of armory type thing. This is just a bikini. It's like she's been to the beach. It's really odd. It's really weird. I mean, it's obviously aiming at that market. I can see what they're doing here, but it's just pointless. I mean, this is just a woman from, in a very skimpy bikini for no reason in the background, because you're not rescuing a woman. You're trying to find the amulet of Yendor.
Something tells me that whoever drew that was told roughly what the game was kind of about, and that's what they drew, because it's the body of He-Man, not the head of He-Man though, and then I don't know why there's a woman chained up, isn't she? So it's just a bit naff, isn't it? They've gone just do something fantasy and, I don't know, put it in some kind of volcano. No, that's the best thing to do.
No, with a big sort of yellow tube behind him. It's not very good. Anyway, it's not a very good game. Whatever.
No, it's not.
There we go.
No,
That's Rogue.
exactly.
Oh dear. Right. Let's carry on. What we got next? We've had Rogue. Let's move on. Drive along even at night. I want to drive some roads at night. Graham, what's it like being a night racer?
This is from Mastertronic again. Coded by Kevin T. Green. That's the Flash Gordon Chromosome guy, isn't it? And musician here is David Dunn. So on the blurb, we have you take part in a nighttime rally through the pine forests of Central Europe. The organisers have decided that there are far too many competitors in the rally, so they have fitted all of the cars with explosives. Seems extreme, but okay. These are set on a short time limit. If you do not reach the checkpoint in time, the bomb will go off and your race will end. You did want to be cremated, didn't you? ? The only way to avoid this fate is to keep your foot to the floor, avoid the other cars on the track, and keep racing. You will need to make use of the gears. Keep your eye on the control panel at the bottom of the screen, and whenever the rev counter reaches maximum, change up a gear. The gear you are in is indicated on the gear lever in the middle of the control panel. Time counts down on the clock on the left of the control panel. When the red quadrant starts flashing, the clock is on its last revolution, and you must make the line quickly. A stage map has been provided at the far left of the control panel map. Keep an eye on this to get advance warning of the upcoming bends. Avoid the curbs at the side of the track, as riding over this slows you down, as does colliding with other cars in the rally. You score points for the distance you cover, and a bonus for the time remaining at the end of each stage. At the start of each stage, a computer-controlled car starts alongside you. If you beat it to the finish line, you will be awarded an extra bonus.
Ooh.
So we have a racing game. We had one of these for a while. I was thinking about that. Not had one of these for a while, have we?
Not for a bit.
Interesting. This is also recorded on a BASF tape, by the way, which I like to think is the sign of good quality. I've said before.
You do like that, don't you? You do like when it tells you what it was recorded on.
No, it says on the tape here, this was programmed. Yeah, it was programmed by Kevin Green, so it must be the same guy, yeah. So a driving game set at night, Adrian. Interesting.
Interesting.
Akin to a poor nighttime outrun style experience, really, when you get underneath the hood. The top part of the screen is your view of the race. Here there is quite an effective tree line nighttime effect, giving the illusion of driving down dark country roads. That effect is quite nice, in all fairness.
It is, yes.
Good choice of colours, good choice of the way it looks. It looks quite good. I'll give them credit where credit's due. I like that.
It's a good 3D effect, yes.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah. Under that is the standard 8-bit game driving roadway, complete with bendy sections and red and white edge stripes. So, pole position and that kind of thing.
Pit stop 2.
The car then sits a la pole position or pit stop 2 in the bottom of the road effect. Accelerate with the fire button, left and right to steer, up and down to do the gears. Under that is your dashboard view, complete with a steering wheel, mini-map, speedometer and rev counter. And like I said, the aim of the game here is to race through the stages, avoid the other vehicles, and get to the stage ends to start the next section. Your counter does flash red quite quickly, and if you're not at the end of the stage, you will explode and it's game over. So this is a simple game. Aside from the nice tree line effect, which is nice, credit where credit's due, everything else is a bit dated and rote.
You do like give those trees the credit, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it is a nice effect.
It is.
It's all been done before, apart from the trees. It's all been done before, this kind of racing game, and in better ways than this. And I mean, I know this is £2, so okay, it's £2, but there's nothing new here at all. In fact, if anything, is less of things. The 1 minute soundtrack, by the way, is neither here nor there. It's 1 minute 8, that soundtrack. Now, bear in mind that you're going to be racing in this game for a long time. You know that the accompanying sound effect is going to be an annoying whine, which is meant to be some kind of engine drone, which it is. The annoying whine, which is meant to be some kind of engine drone. Graphics on the whole on the cars, well, they're not bad, but they're not good.
They're bad good or good bad?
Well, I don't know. I didn't like the way the sort of front of the car, the way the car moved when you turned. It was a bit weird. It's like the front of the car moved and the back didn't. And cars don't do that.
No, they don't.
So I could sort of see why they'd want to do it. Steering the car wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, but you find yourself, you'll always be bumping into cars on because the actual road itself is quite narrow. It's a single track road essentially with the white stripes in the middle, but it's meant to look like it's a lot wider, but it's not. You could theoretically get your car down the left and one car on the right hand side, but that never happens. It's actually that bendy that you're always weaving across the road in one way or another. It's got that kind of inertia effect, so hit a bend, push the joystick to the left, and then the car's going to eventually sort of push out. And you can slow down and affect that. And it's just controls like every other game. But if you imagined a Pit Stop 2 and took away all of the stuff that made it Pit Stop 2, except the driving part, and then put a really nice tree line effect in it at night, you probably won't be far off this.
Yeah.
Apart from that, there needs to be more to these racing games. It is only £2 though, so I know it's £2 worth of racing game with a nice tree line effect. I didn't hate it. I think it got a bit of a kick in at 36%. I wouldn't have said it was that low. I mean, it's around the 50 or 60 mark, but it's certainly not 30%. It's worth it for that tree line effect alone, which is really good. But I don't know, £2. It's passable value. You'd probably kill an afternoon with it. I don't think you're going to go for the longevity because there isn't a lot of variation in this. You know, you go for each stage and they're arguably exactly the same. So I don't know which deep forest you're in, but I'll tell you what, it's long on that road in there. It's going for like 200 or 300 miles just in the dark. You're never escaping out of there.
Never.
There are better racing games out there. Pit Stop 2 is probably budget by now at this point, maybe as well. So I don't know. Are you going to get a lot out of this game? I don't know. No, not really. It's another Mastertronic near miss. No, it's not great. What did you think?
Yeah, probably the same. I thought this was some kind of odd reworking of Atari's Night Driver from 1975. That old classic. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nighttime.
Maybe a little bit. Yeah, nighttime driving, I guess.
Nighttime driving, isn't it? Yeah, whatever it is. It's a bit. It's just a bit on the bland side, isn't it? It's just a bit on the bland side. The track graphics are quite good, I thought, with a nice nighttime pine forest effect. I even have written that down. It is really good. I was like, oh, that's really cool. The cars are not so great though. They're all right. They're okay, no. but the sound is that annoying whine you get in these games. But here's the thing: why is it down to change up a gear and up to change down a gear?
Yeah.
Why?
I kind of just got used to that quite quick, but yeah, a bit weird.
I'm just pushing. I want to be pushing forward to. Well, you know, it just feels right.
But you liked your controls reversed.
No, yeah, for looking, not for gears. It's just weird. It seems very counterintuitive. Anyway, shame, as I do like the track effect to the forest. Although why the track is all lit up, I don't know. Because this is the point of night driving, isn't it? You're not supposed to be able to see the track. So it kind of renders it moot that it's at night when the whole track is visible. It's like, I thought if they'd have done some atmospherics, like don't show the whole track, they could have done just for some headlights, just sort of some headlight effect in front of you, not like some 8-bit ones, so sort of just like a couple of arcs, so it sort of simulated seeing the track, and then
could have done that,
and then you were looking because then you'd have to keep an eye on the map. And
such as it is.
Yeah, I thought the map was all right at the bottom left. It did follow the track, so I was quite happy with that. So you'd have to look at the map to know where the corners were coming because you couldn't see them because you didn't have enough, you couldn't see it properly. With this, you can see them coming a mile off because you can see the whole track, which then renders it pointless being at night. You must have the strongest full beams ever.
Well, to be fair, there are some bright ones out there.
There are, but this lights up, the next continent. I don't know. Yeah, or they could have and then in that darkness of the track where the track is, they could have just had like little red lights as tail lights as the other cars coming towards you. Yeah, that would have been quite nice. And
themed it better, I guess.
Because if you think, what was that one we played? That train one. I can't remember the one. That sort of funny train one where you went in the tunnel and you could just see the eyes.
Oh, that was that. I would say Cactus Jack, but that was the film.
But that sort of thing. But that's what I mean by doing something where you show something with a bit of atmosphere and you don't need a lot of graphics to it. So it could have just been two little red dots just getting wider apart as they come towards you. And I think that, with a bit of thought, that would have really lifted this and gone, it's a thingy, but it looks quite cool and would have made it more fun to play.
You've blown the 199s with the time that this got.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's just not night driving because you're not at night. You are at night, but you can see the track, so it's like, well, whatever. Yeah. It's all right. It's just bland. I don't know.
Time at the top.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's very dark in those trees, and in the sky, but that track is illuminated. It's glowing from beneath.
It is a bit.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm being picky, but it is what I just thought. They could have thought about that, but yeah, £2, I suppose. It's if they'd have just got rid of the nighttime stuff and just said it's a racer, I'd be like, oh yeah, okay, it's all right.
Yeah. Day racer, but it looks like it's at night. Shut up.
We've filmed day for night. That's what we've done. That's what they've done. They've filmed day for night.
Yes, yeah, they have. Yeah,
there we go. It's all right. I think
take
you're
the
right.
Stripes off the edge.
Yeah,
the white and red stripes. Take them off the edge. Don't have them.
Don't have them. Don't have them. Just use the darker shade of grey.
Well,
for the track as well.
We know that the only reason they're there is to give the illusion of speed. Without those, it wouldn't have any, would it?
No.
Well, I don't know. It would come a little bit from that top effects. That
it
is quite nice.
And you've got the white lines down the middle.
Yeah.
Those pine trees are very nice.
It's a very clever effect.
Very clever effect. Anyway, there we go. That's pine trees. We like them, but not the game. Not the game. Let's move on. We've still got one more to get through this half. Jesus, going on forever. Let's get to it. And last one, this part is Typhoon. Typhoon. This is £9. This is another barely remembered arcade title. Do you remember this? I don't remember this. And it's been ported to the home machines. And this time it's Ajax. This is actually called Ajax in the arcade. The original title was Ajax. This came from Konami in 1987, but it got its UK ports in 1988, where it was renamed to Typhoon, which is what we have here. So it was the name was changed from Ajax. That's A-Jax to Typhoon. This port comes from Imagine. It was coded by Zach Townsend, so set expectations to hard, with visuals from Andrew Slate and music by Jonathan Dunn. We know all those names. These three have worked on loads of Imagine and Ocean stuff before and after this. Whether it's Jonathan Dunn doing music, Andrew Slate did Kung Fu 2 and other stuff, and Zach Townsend Game Over and all kinds of bits and bobs. It's an arcade port. Okay, so this is a straight arcade port. So we get a nice title screen by Mr. Slay, and then a decent title page with some good music and little in the way of options. You can change it from sound effects to music in game, and that's it. And you get a high score table as well. It's a multi-load game. It's another multi-load arcade game. But at least in this, the first level is loaded in, so it starts off straight away, so that's okay. But this is, I wasn't sure what to expect from this, and what I was expecting was like a top-down shooter. So this first stage took me by surprise, because this is almost like two-part arcade game with two very distinct sections that alternate as you progress. So in the opening section, you control a Typhoon jet from behind, and you're flying into the screen afterburner style. That's not what I was expecting in the slightest. Waves of jets sort of spiral out. You're flying directly into clouds. There's loads of clouds coming at you, and it's actually quite a good effect. This is pretty decent. Waves of jets fly out towards you. They sort of spiral out, and you have to steer your jet around the screen, trying to take them down with your bullets and missiles, which fire at the same time. They're shooting at you. They fire back. So expect to collide with either the missiles or the jets themselves, because it's hard. As you try and make it to the end of this, end of this section and get to the end of section boss. This section is actually pretty decent. There's nice sprite scrolling effect on the jets, the way they spiral out. It's all good. The clouds have a nice effect. It's the same effect time and time again, but this works pretty well, I thought. It was quite a decent approximation of the arcade original, which I went and had a look at. If you do get through the clouds and you get past them, you realise you've actually been flying straight down, which is almost vertigo-inducing at a point. You're like, you're just heading straight down, and now you've got to avoid the fire of a large aircraft carrier, which is right beneath you. And you got to try and take it out by just shooting at it and bombing it and just avoiding all the bombs it's flying up to you. It's quite chaotic. There's a lot going on here, and it's quite hard. But it's doable. It's not dead hard. You just got to sort of give it a few cracks. I got through, so you move on to level 2. So level 2 loads in, and now you pilot a small helicopter, and it becomes a more standard vertical scrolling shooter, like Tiger Heli or Flying Shark, or those kind of things. It's that kind of stuff. Where you are beset, here you're beset by multitudes of planes, boats, surface-to-air missiles, submarines, electric balls that fire out of the clouds, which is kind of weird. But they are actually straight from the arcade, 'cause I had a look. So nothing here is not in the arcade. So in fact, everything from the arcade is here. They've done, everything's there. There's all kinds of crap going on if you're trying to make it through. So at this point, you have a smart bomb as well. You can launch that with the space bar, and that sort of fires up, and it's not a particularly great effect. It's just a big orange blur. This ball just sort of appears and just destroys everything on screen, including bullets. Kind of handy. As you progress as well, in this section, there are also waves of red enemies or singular red helicopters that come down, and if you destroy them, they'll drop power-ups. So they've got power-ups as well in this, and you can pick them up. So again, these all from the arcade. These power-ups, you've got V, which gives you Vulcan fire, which seem to fire a sort of fiery bomb in front of you. There's B for more damaging bombs, because the way you shoot in this is you fire normally. So it's kind of almost like Zevious in the fact you have a target in front of you, and that you're also dropping bombs as well as shooting missiles as well constantly. So you do different things. So B, you got more damaging bombs. You can pick up a 3, that gives you 3-way fire. You can get T for triple fire. You can get L for laser, and there's an O for double firepower. Why is that not D? I don't know. It might have been a D. I don't know. I couldn't read it. And you want to try and get these because the waves of enemies and bullets, they come thick and fast. This is a busy, busy game. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of enemies, a lot of bullets, a lot of waves of stuff just, all over the place. And it's very smooth and nicely done. Zach Townsend has done a cracking job in coding here. There's some really good stuff. It's some really, it's a good shoot 'em up. If you make it through this section, if you destroy the end of level boss, there's more vertical scrolling shooting to be done. This time you're over jungles, same kind of enemies. And then after that, there's some kind of weird purple industrial location. I don't know how to describe it any better. If you make it through these levels, you go back to the skies, back to the sort of 3D section. And now your jet is hurtling down a canyon, once again avoiding missiles from aircrafts and tanks this time. And that's quite a nice effect. You've got this sort of quite fast sort of 3D canyon that you're sort of, flying down. And the boss at the end of this level is pretty impressive. It kind of rises from behind the landscape and sort of rises up, and it's this massive kind of tower, big bolt tower thing. And it's just spewing these sort of balls of death at you. And that's, you got to shoot that. It's actually pretty decent. Some nice graphics here and some nice effects. If you kill that, you're back in your helicopter. You've got 2 more levels of ground-based shooting. If you get through them, you're back in your jet and you're flying out to space, and you got to take down the evil space station or something. I couldn't find a story on this. I don't think there is a story. You're just a best Typhoon pilot, and you just got to go shoot stuff. You're just the best pilot you can do, and that's it. So it's a brain dead shooter with 2 weird, gameplay styles bolted together. Kind of odd. It's kill everything and try and survive. There are, looking at this critically, there's some aspects of this that are better than the others. It runs pretty smoothly, and give it its due. This is well coded. I think the UI and the border trick allows for plenty of space for the game to take place, so it doesn't feel crushed in. There's you don't feel hemmed in. There's none of that sort of flying into scenery or anything like that when you're in the helicopter parts. You've got the full screen to take place, and it's still hard. There's a lot of stuff going on. The 3D effect for the levels is pretty good. It's fast enough to work. The only thing is the scaling on the bombs fired at you by the jets. It's just not enough. They're too big and they don't scroll fast. They're sort of, in the way that the jets get bigger, the bombs don't. So it's hard to sort of judge where they are in relation to you. I hit them far too often because I thought I was clear of them, but I wasn't. And that was a bit annoying. The vertical scrolling part, it's fast again. There's lots going on. Although I thought the graphics were a little murky, and they're not very crisp. They're a bit fuzzy. I don't know. They could have been a little more well defined. Some better definition on some of the sprites, I think. But it moves at a fair click, and it offers. It's certainly challenging, but it doesn't feel too unfair. Some of Zach Townsend's other games felt really unfair. This doesn't. I got quite far into it, and I thought, with a bit of perseverance, I reckon I could get quite far. It's okay. The problem is, it just feels derivative of other games that do the individual parts of this better. It's not as good as Afterburner, although I haven't played the C64 version yet. I can't really remember it yet, so I don't know how that transfers. I think there is a C64 version of Afterburner in there. I'm sure there is. I'm sure there is one coming.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, there is.
So I don't know what that's like. I think that's what's his face in it. It's Chris Butler, I think, did it, wasn't it? I think. I could be wrong on this.
Yeah,
don't quote me on this. Yeah. I haven't looked because I'm not sure about it. So I don't know. That could be terrible. Who knows? And it doesn't feel as good as some other vertical scrolling shoot 'em ups that we've played either. So it's kind of it's a decent version of each one, but neither is kind of as good as other variants if you just want that pure version of that kind of thing. As a package, though, I think this offers a lot of blasting action, if that's what you're after. And it is varied, with the 2 sections offering some decent sort of, different things to do. And it is a pretty faithful rendition of the arcade game, right down to the tunes. The tunes are very similar to the arcade as well. I think the score is about right. It got 79%. I think it's a solid port of an okay arcade game. So you're always left with the deficiencies of the parent to overcome, which is what I think the main thing is here. It's a pretty decent shooter, this, and a good arcade port with some nice technical chops on display. I thought it was all right. I quite enjoyed this. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't expect what I got, that's for sure. Some of the perspectives, the graphics sort of broke my brain a little bit. I quite liked that opening 3D sort of aero shooter style thing. That was quite a nice effect. I mean, I know the background was just the same thing over and over again, the cloud thing, but it sort of worked. It worked, and it was fast. I mean, there's no denying that. It really ran at pace. Mm-hmm. So it's blocky and stuff, but okay, when it's running at that kind of pace, you're not overly worried about that. And it isn't relying on stripy raster bars to give you a sense of speed. It actually feels like you're shooting through the clouds. The second bit's not as good. So when you get to when you actually realise that you dive bombing the aircraft carrier, the way the aircraft carrier is presented sort of lets it down a bit. All of a sudden, you just got this blocky mass on the screen in the centre, and
In the
It just gets
arcade,
bigger and
in the
blockier.
arcade, it kind of rotates around as well, so that effect is missing. But
Yeah. So I think it's just, the limitations are what they are. But I don't know if there would have been a better way of doing that, or even maybe not even have that bit in it if it's not required. I don't know. So you get you think when it first started, I was like, wow, this is actually pretty damn good. And then you get that and you're like, oh, here we go. And I was suddenly reminded of the vehicles in is it Test Drive, when the police car was just like a big blocky mass behind. I was like, oh, all right. And then you get past that, and then you get to the sort of the helicopter shoot 'em up part, which I thought was actually pretty good.
yeah,
It's a good little shooter in its own right. Graphics are good, sprites are quite nice, dead responsive, the occasional flicker bug, but nothing to worry about too much. Loads of power-ups, loads of stuff going on. A busy old screen full of stuff.
Yeah.
Hard as nails. In fact, the whole game's rock hard. Arcade difficulty ramped up to C64 levels of crazy. The later 3D sections actually get worse and worse, though. That's such a shame. So later, you end up in this horrible, blocky Space Harrier type vibe, and it's not good. Walls coming at the side of the screen, like a really bad version of that kind of effect. It's not nice. It
the
sticks to
canyon bit.
Yeah,
I didn't think it was that
not
bad.
nice.
I thought it was okay.
It's not as good as because you go from the first part's quite good with the clouds. Okay, you get away with it. Then you get presented with the big blocky ship, and you're like, meh. Then you get a helicopter bit, and you're like, oh, okay, this is quite good. Then you get back to the blocky ship eventually, and you're like, oh, it's just, I don't know. It's just some parts of that aren't as good as the other parts, and so it's a bit like,
Yeah.
Hey,
That's what I said
But-
about it's like it's you've only got the parent machine, haven't you, to sort of draw from? So
Yeah, but what they've done is pull a lot of good stuff together. It's quite visually interesting. That when it's good, it's good. It's next to impossible difficulty-wise. I mean, I didn't last 2 seconds, but it's pretty good. It's a good package for $8.95. You're getting quite a bit crammed into one thing. Got 79%, didn't it? I think maybe it's just, I think it's some of those little things that have let it down, because a little bit of tidying up maybe, or maybe a little bit of less trying to cram everything in and maybe focus on some really good parts. I don't know, because I thought that the helicopter shoot-up part was one of the better shoot-ups we've played in ages, top-down shooters.
It is
and
good,
I
yeah.
quite enjoyed that. So I don't, 79% seems maybe, for an arcade conversion of this type, very brave attempt, but they've put a lot of thought into it. I quite like this. It really surprised me, I'll be honest. I didn't expect what I got. And I quite like that when games do that. You're like, oh, okay. And they've tried something and they've had a good bloody go at it. Yes, there's blocky bits in it, but I don't know. My only thought was really that long term, because there is a genuine arc to this, isn't there? Because you sort of progress and you go through different things. And
it's also nice as well to get a continue as well. If you get to because it's quite hard to get through that opening section. If you get through that and into the helicopter bit, if you lose all your lives, you get to continue in that section, which is a nice affordance. And you get all your lives back just to start that bit. That's good.
As a package of things, it's got for $8.95. It's got a lot of good stuff going on in there. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I would advise anyone who's never thought of playing this game to go and play it, because I think it will surprise you. Surprise me, surprise you. I think it's a surprising thing. But the score, I think they just scored it based on a version of an arcade of some description, and perhaps they're used to seeing other arcades around that time that are quite snazzy. But I thought it was pretty good. So yeah, definitely worth a visit, and an interesting game. Came a bit left field, that one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, I had no idea what it was. So we thought it last week. I think we were saying we were thinking it might be.
We thought it might be Vectors. Yeah. Well, then you checked and it wasn't.
It wasn't. Yeah. But yeah, good stuff. There we go. Typhoon. Who knew? There we go. That's it. That's a long part. It's a long half section, whatever you want to call it. Well, that's 4 games reviewed. We're going to take a quick break, and then we will be back. We're looking at the UK albums this month, and I'll explain why when we come back.
The novel Escape from the Commodore 64 by David Hearn is out now. Growing up in the 80s is a chore for Sarah, who feels misunderstood by her parents and badgered by Reese, her bothersome brother who incessantly prattles on about his treasured computer games. When Reese tells her one of the games tried to pull him inside the computer, she laughs off his fanciful fib. She waggles the joystick to disprove his fairy tale and is pulled into the computer. Now trapped in games she'd never had any interest in playing, how can she possibly beat them? With the help of feisty Nell, another trapped player, can Sarah find her way back home, or is it game over? An evil madman, a hostile planet, bloodthirsty robots, a never-ending throng of karate experts, and relentless digital soldiers will do their best to ensure Sarah never escapes. Available from Amazon and all good online retailers, find out if there's a way out of the beige bread bin of betrayal for Sarah in Escape from the Commodore 64.
Are you keeping up with the Commodore? Yes, the Commodore is keeping up with you.
And we're back. And breaking from usual tradition, we're looking at the albums in September 1988. Now, we're looking at the albums because obviously next episode is episode 100. We've got plans for that. There are things afoot. Things will be happening.
Right.
One of those things that is afoot, in the words of Sherlock Holmes, is that we're going to be doing the singles, obviously, but we're going to have Mr. Gary, the
Podcast
Rapmeister
friend.
Wilson, in again to do the singles, and he asked if he could do the singles again. So it made a little bit of a rejig, but it's it's fine. We'll do the
We
albums.
can
this
accommodate
week.
him. We don't like to accommodate him and his
We
ghoulish
don't.
gremlin ways, but
No, absolutely not. And the amount of brown sauce he's requested on his rider is just ridiculous.
Riders on a storm, with brown sauce. Do, 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 do,
Riders on the sauce.
do, 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 do.
In HP we trust. Do, 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 do.
He probably does, although I don't know what his preference for brown is these days, whether he's a HP or a
I think he's always he's a HP man. Always
times
will be.
being what they are. It could be Aldi brand now.
True sort of thing.
PH.
pH. Oh, it's a bit acidic.
Oh, dear. Anyway,
okay.
yeah, he'll be along.
Is that chemistry jokes or physics? I can't remember. Anyway, right, let's get some albums then, shall we? Number one albums, first 2 weeks of September. Kylie Minogue.
She's still there.
Still
she won't
there.
go.
She won't leave.
She's still there. No,
Don't
don't blame
leave.
her. Don't blame her. It's a nice place to be.
In for 1 week, Hot City Nights.
Goodness me.
Various artists. I told you it was good, and the public agreed. I knew
It's not
it was,
that it's a good
I knew it was
album.
good.
It's just got a Bon Jovi track on it.
It's got a Rush track on it. That's what did it.
Yeah, so that's what sold it. Yeah.
So we went through this the other week, but yeah, it's a good album. That I have all the songs anyways. Who cares? But it's a good album, apart from those ones I don't like. And then coming in for 1 week at the end of the month is New Jersey by Bon Jovi.
Oh, what an album that is.
It is a good album. This is their fourth studio album. This is the month of fourth albums as well, by the way. There's loads of these.
A month of 4.
A month of 4. It was produced by Bruce Fairbairn. Who cares? It's the follow-up to the band's third album, Slippery When Wet, and reached number 1 Billboard 200 chart. Songs include Bad Medicine, Lay Your Hands on Me, Born to Be My Baby, and I'll Be There for You, among others.
Such good songs. Such a good album. Such a good album.
Yeah, you're a big fan of this, aren't you?
Yes, I am. Richie Sambora, up to the point when he was on The Masked Singer, was my favourite guitarist.
He was A?
Yeah, he was on The Masked Singer.
Oh, no.
Tell me about it. And he was dressed as a giant jacket potato. I mean, fuck my life.
We really have entered Time Trumpet.
We have.
When Richie Sambora is dressed as a
As
giant
a jacket potato.
jacket potato in a... What?
I know.
No.
Just honestly, just
Tesco
On your-
invaders.
hand me your cool badge on your way out of the door. No, he was, aside from recently performing as a jacket potato, he is actually an exceptionally good guitarist and was, at this point, that's my favourite album of Bon Jovi's, and that's my favourite performances from Richie Sambora on that album. I absolutely love it, and especially love Lay Your Hands on Me and Bad Medicine. I think they're brilliant Bon Jovi tracks.
Oh, they are, absolutely.
I rushed out and bought that album, on its release. My
last
eager
week.
money that I'd saved, last week, because of the potato thing.
I forgot all about it. I rushed all the way down to the shop, all the way down to the co-op.
And they were like, "You're well late." No, I remember going out and buying it when it came out, because I obviously was a big fan of Slippery When Wet, and I was getting into a sort of different music at this point. I was already into quite into sort of German metal and some of that sort of more speed metal type stuff. I don't know what you really call that, but hard metal, I guess. I don't know. But I've always had a soft spot for Bon Jovi, and particularly because I like Richie Sambora, and that album is ace. So
Yeah, there's. I think it's in Born to Be My Baby. There's a picture there. The bassist has undergone some severe Spaniering of the ear,
Yeah,
the hair.
there was a bit of a trend of backcombing. I don't know what's worse, backcombing your hair to that extent or wearing some kind of denim waistcoat.
It's all with the picture of the band on it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. But, you know, what do we know about the bassist of Bon Jovi?
Bon Jovi, I don't know. He's got massive backcombed hair.
Yeah,
Strangely, New Jersey was also released by the Soviet state-owned record label Melodia. And it was the first American album to be officially released in the USSR, according to Wikipedia. To celebrate to celebrate the band's 30th anniversary in 2014, the album was repackaged with bonus tracks. Oh, there you go.
I don't suppose you can get it now. So, anyway.
Probably not, no. Oh, yeah.
Good album. Go and listen to it. Go and revisit. Don't just listen to the other tracks as well. Everyone knows Bad Medicine and Lay Your Hands on Me and all that, but there's some really good other tracks on that. It's a good, solid album all the way through. Really good.
All right, let's get into our albums then. 4th of September, in at number 16 is Twice the Love by George Benson.
Oh, you got to love a bit of the old GB. Getting a bit of GB on the go. Whoa.
Only twice. Oof. Only twice the love. I'm not falling for that again.
But twice his love is 20 times more than any normal man.
You need many towels.
You do. You really do.
You really
You're wringing them out for weeks.
In at number 30 is Answers to Nothing. That's Mid-Jaw or No One.
Yes.
He answers to nothing and no one.
It's because he's deaf. So can't hear you.
Well, he sets his Ring doorbell up way too loud, and he can't hear anything. He's his own man, Mid-Jaw. What did we say he sounded like? Mid-Jaw.
Was it a cough sweet? I think was it, or
I think so.
Throat lozenge or something? I think it's was it something like that? Mid-Jaw.
In at number 46 is Short, Sharp, Shocked by Michelle Shocked.
I don't know much about Michelle Shocked.
I know very little. She sounds like it's a bit country-ish.
Okay.
That I listened to. I had a couple of listens. Didn't really listen to me. Interestingly, the photograph of Shocked that appears on the cover was taken by Chris Hardy of the San Francisco Examiner at protests in San Francisco during the 1984 Democratic National Convention. She does not look happy.
No.
This album was reissued. And because she's been hauled off by the cops on the front of this cover, it was reissued, and essentially they cropped all the cops out on the front cover of the reissue just had a close up of her face.
How weird would that be?
Yeah, but they actually had the full picture then on the back.
What stupidity is this? And she looks more choked in that than shocked, really. She's been choked.
Yeah, it's not a particularly nice thing, is it? And
no, it's not a nice image to put on your album, that.
No, but obviously she wants to get her message across. Short, sharp, short.
The moustache on that copper in the background.
He's not looking happy.
Crazy moustache.
Yeah.
That moustache, he looks a bit like Flanders. Ned Flanders.
He does a bit. Yeah.
It's going to chokely dokely.
Very good. Chokely dokely. Oh, I like that. Anyway, I don't have anything more to say about Michelle Shocked. I mean,
no,
I
don't know anything about it, really.
But that's about it. And at number 81 is 16 Lovers Lane by the Go-Betweens. It is the sixth album. We have heard of them because we asked the exact same thing before. I think some of our Australian listeners told us about them.
That's right. Yes, I remember now.
Indie rock group The Go-Betweens. Prior to recording the album, longtime bassist Robert Vickers left the band. And the other group members died to return to Australia after having spent several years in London, England. He was replaced by John Wilsteed.
Fair enough. The Go-Betweens, similar to the Go-Go's, they're in between the Go-Go's. There's the Go-Betweens, and then
they're the ones in the middle. They sit in between the Go-Go's.
The Go-Go's and the Betweeners.
The Go-Go's and the Talks. The Betweeners. The Betweeners. There's a band. There's not a lot of albums for me. There's some big ones, though. We're getting some big ones coming up. 11th September, number 2 is Rank by the Smiths.
No.
I've just written it probably is.
Yep, it will be.
It will be. And we'll just leave it at that.
I can't go out tonight because I haven't got a shoe to polish. Anything. Rubbish.
Yeah, true. In at number 4 is And Justice for All by Metallica.
That's a good album as well.
Once again, the 4th studio album by American heavy metal band Metallica. It was the first Metallica album to feature new bassist Jason Newsted following the death of their previous bassist Cliff Burton in 1986. Although Burton received posthumous writing credit on To Live Is To Die as Newsted followed bass lines Burton had recorded prior to his death. I was reading about this and what they said about after touring with it. They were just like, we're never playing these songs again. They're too long.
Fair enough.
And they were like, it just takes forever. But then they did. They still play one and things like that to this day.
Oh, they have to. They have to play that. It's the rules.
Yeah, it is. Are you a fan of this album?
Yeah, it's one of my. I wouldn't say one of my favourite Metallica albums, but it's certainly. If I'm going to listen to a Metallica album, that's the one I'll go for.
Really?
Certainly won't be Saint Anger.
Would it over this Black or Master of Puppets? The Black album?
All of those are good, but if I'm going to pick any of them, I quite like tracks off this one. I quite like tracks off all the others. It's one of those albums, you could put it on, whack a couple of tracks on, you're going to like it. It's Miss Metallica. It's ask someone to say, give me 3 albums that define Metallica. This is one of them, isn't it?
Yeah, true. It is.
Like I said, but you don't talk about Saint Anger. An album based on cheese is a bad idea. We've said many times before.
We've said it many times before.
Yeah. This is a good album. Let's go and listen to it again. It's good stuff.
Number 12. In at number 12 is Out of This World by Europe. Out of This World is the 4th studio album.
Another one.
By the Swedish rock band Europe. It was a commercial success, selling over 3 million units worldwide.
Wow.
Pretty good.
Hit.
The 4 singles were released worldwide from the album: Superstitious, Open Your Heart, Let the Good Times Rock, and More Than Meets the Eye. Joey Tempest is looking more and more like some kind of animal.
Well, that's partly because what's on his head isn't his hair. That's actually his dog, Keto. That's where he keeps it.
So much hair on that front cover.
There is.
It's just
except one guy's forehead's overtaking his hair.
his hair is falling backwards.
He is. It's a bit of a moon
and he's
face,
standing up
isn't he?
straight still. It's an interesting. The one on the top right as well looks like he's not in the band, but he's just like poking in. Hello.
Yeah, photobombed it.
Yeah. Hello.
Get out.
Get out. Actually, I'm trying to think what animal Joey. It's like a fox or something.
Well, the only other strange thing is, firstly, that I noticed was Michael Douglas appears to have joined the band at some point on the bottom right there.
The bottom right.
Yeah.
Who knew?
And Joey Tempest is the only one with a perfectly symmetrical face.
There's something wrong with his face.
It's because if you drew a line down the middle, it's exactly the same as a mirror face. All the others in the band aren't. They haven't got mirror faces, except him. He's a mirror face.
Yeah, it's just I can't even say what I think he looks like. He's just weird. He might be suffering from low polyism.
But say what you want about him and his crazy, and his dog that's on his head. He's got a great singing voice, hasn't he? Yeah, he has. Amazing singing voice.
Yeah.
Beautiful plumage.
great dog on his head.
And who knew Michael Douglas was in the band? When did he join?
I don't know. This must be for his Catherine Zeta-Jones days, I presume.
Yeah, and the guy at the top middle is crap Nick Kershaw, isn't he?
Yeah, the one on the top left reminds me of someone as well. And I can't
Paul
think
Stanley. He's not. He's Aldi Paul Stanley, isn't he?
Aldi Stanley.
Aldi Stanley.
Little Stanley.
Little Stanley. Yeah, it's Little Stanley. There he is.
Oh dear. Hello. Little Stanley. Bog off.
Hiya.
Get lost.
Get lost, Little Stanley.
I don't want you. Go away with your denim jacket. In at number 14 is The Nephilim by Fields of the Nephilim. This is their 2nd studio album.
Ooh.
The Nephilim's opening track, Endemoniada, shares its name with a 1968 Mexican horror film and features a man growling, "Penitentiary," or something, which is sampled from Ron Perlman's Hunchback character, Salvatore, in The Name of the Rose. And there's a picture of Ron Perlman.
Bloody Ron Perlman. His head is a Lego block.
It really is. If you shut on that, you're going to be it's going to hurt for hours.
If you shaved his hair away, he's got a bobble on the middle of his head where you can attach other bricks and hats, and handy enough you can even store things on it.
Oh, Ron.
Surprising what you can put on his head.
It really is. Yeah. Name of the Rose. What a weird sample to put in.
But not very Nephilim thing to do, isn't it? Yeah. Some random. Sounds like he's sneezing, his German sneeze. But it's good.
Yeah. But yeah, I do remember Ron Perlman in that film as a hunchback.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very strange film.
I remember Ron Perlman in every film as a hunchback.
That's true. Even Hellboy.
Yeah, he's a hunch head in that.
Hunchhead, yeah. Number 20, Peep Show by Susie and the Banshees. It's quite a rock and gothy week.
It is, yeah.
Peep Show's the 9th studio album by English rock band Susie and the Banshees. There you go. It was their first record as a quintet, and with the arrival of multi-instrumentalist Martin McCarrick and guitarist John Klein, the group recorded a multifaceted album with a variety of influences. And we listened to the single.
Yeah, and that's punk code for crap.
Yeah.
That sounds like bloody multifaceted album with a variety of influences. Down with the establishment.
Yeah.
You sellouts.
Absolutely. There's a bloody what's-its-face, an accordion on it. That's not punk.
Well, the fact that they're on Polydor Records, isn't that quite a big label for a punk band?
Yeah, there we go. Number 24, Keeper of the Seven Keys, Part 2 by Halloween.
Yes.
Who knew this
Quite an
one came in at
interesting
number
album.
24?
No, crazy, really, that. Good album, isn't it? Keeper of the Seven Keys Part 2.
It is a good album, yes.
Yeah. Obviously, their response to Keeper of the Seven Keys Part 1.
Well, they need it. If they do a Part 1, you expect a Part 2.
Yeah. Yeah. Bit more operatic, I think, maybe a little. There's more... less tracks by Kai Hansen on it, I think, because obviously Halloween by Halloween was Kai Hansen on the first album, which was the kind of the big track, because they're like Iron Maiden, aren't they? They're a German Iron Maiden.
Yeah, they do their big 13-minute closes, don't they?
Yeah, so you got a big on of course on this one. It's the excellent Keeper of the Seven Keys, which is by Kisk, isn't it? Written by Kisk, that one.
Is it all written? Is it? I don't know. Maybe
Keeper of the Seven Keys is Kisk, I think. It was his response to the Kai Hansen's big epic one, and that's fine. No, there's some good tracks on there. It's got the classic opening, of course, big epic opening, which is probably used for all of their live tours at the begining before they come on stage, without a doubt.
It's also got Eagle
Invitation
Fly.
In it. It's Invitation at the beginning, and then you've got Eagle Fly Free.
With the demonstration of the largest lungs known to man.
Yeah, you can hold a note.
Although, end note.
We've got a Bill Withers album on this list, haven't we? And if you talk about a guy that can hold a note, Bill Withers, goodness me.
Can he hold a note?
Think of isn't it Bill Withers that did A Lovely Day Gonna Be? I'm sure that's Bill Withers. And that track's got one of the longest held notes in music, I think, on it.
Maybe.
But anyway, Keeper of the Seven Keys Part 2, good stuff. Apparently branded as power metal, I guess. And they're actually, you forget how influential and important Halloween are as a band, a German metal band. Because you wouldn't have all of your Wishmasters and all of your other stuff that came way later if it wasn't on account of Halloween and to some extent Gamma Ray and other stuff. And I'm not saying it's just them. There's a whole bunch of bands around that time, but Halloween had quite an important part to play. They were an interesting bridge for the people that wanted a bit more musicality and a European twiddly-twiddly, and less Maiden, thuddity. So I quite like them for that. I have always liked...
These are the reasons why you write for the Melody Maker. It's those who like
it. Yeah, well, you see, you understood what I meant.
I did, very much so.
I have always preferred Kai Hansen as both a guitarist and a songwriter. I just do. And so I prefer...
Not as a singer, though.
Well, in the right context and the right singing, like if you go to Walls of Jericho, Halloween's sort of first album, I prefer Kai Hansen's vocals and his performance on that. The remaster of that's brilliant, by the way, that album. The second album, which is a really good album, Keeper of the Seven Keys Part 1, that's got amazing Kisk vocals in it. I mean, there's no denying it. And his style of singing that kind of stuff is just unbelievable. He was only 18, I think, at the time when he recorded that. And then you got Keeper of the Seven Keys Part 2. It's a little bit more hit and miss. You've got tracks like Dr. Stein, which I don't like. But you've got I Want Out, which I really do like. But I Want Out was written by Kai Hansen. You've got other tracks on there like Keeper of the Seven Keys, which is just amazing. It's an amazing track, and it's a bit of a journey as well. And then you've got other stuff like Eagle Fly Free and stuff like that. I don't know.
Was Future World on that one?
No, that's on Part 1.
Is that Part 1? Okay.
Yeah, so it's got the bonus track is Please Save Us on the bonus track for this and things like that.
Is it written
Please
that way?
Save us. Yeah, please save us. Yeah. That's what it says on it. It's like, on there, please, with lots of E's. So, Keeping the Seven Keys Part 2, huge selling album for Halloween, really put them on the map. They were always been a big stadium touring band. They were always on tour. And obviously, there's enough tracks on here to be able to have, your crowd in the palm of your hands. Even if you just did stuff like I Want Out, Dr. Stein, Eagle Fly Free, Invitation was your opener, you got Keeper of the Seven Keys, just off this album would be an amazing set. And to think that Keeper of the Seven Keys, by the way, is 13 minutes 37 long on an album that is 49 minutes 23 long. So it's quite a proportion of the album, really.
Yep.
So good stuff. I think it's, for me, not as good as Keeper of the Seven Keys Part 1. Certainly not as good as Walls of Jericho. And it's a hell of a lot better than Pink Bubbles Go Ape.
Well, that's not hard.
But it was, for me, this is peak. The three albums are peak Halloween for me. And
yeah,
I still listen to, I listen to less to the Keeper of the Seven Keys Part 2. I'm regularly listening to Part 1. And because I love stuff like Follow the Sign, and I really like Kai Hansen stuff, and I love Walls of Jericho. It's my favorite Halloween album by miles. I love it.
Oh, really? Mine's,
Yeah,
I think mine's
absolutely.
Keeper of Seven Keys Part 1.
Yeah, a lot of people's. I like tracks that are on. And I really my favorite Halloween track. My favorite Halloween track of all time is Judas, which is off an EP.
Judas.
It's just brilliant. It's just brilliant, Judas.
I will be the one who's sacrificed.
Yeah, exactly. If you're going to sing it like that, you will be the one who's crucified. I love it. Crucified. I love it.
Oh, dear.
It's just mad pace on that track.
It
It's
is.
insane.
My favourite's Halloween.
Yeah, that'll come a close second to that. But
That's just
I absolutely love
fabulous, that
Judas.
song. It's just,
And then I actually jump across to Gamma Ray after that for Halloween type songs.
probably.
But yeah, you're right. Halloween's amazing.
Yeah. There we go. In at number 90 was the greatest hits of Bill Withers. There you go.
There you go. When I wake up in the morning, because if you think of that track, a lovely day gonna be, and he's in the background. He goes day for ages.
It's still singing
You
it.
could look it up.
I know.
I don't know. I think it's famously long, isn't it? That
It is quite long. His name is also the pun to the punchline to a joke, which I won't say.
you can say it.
What happens if you put a duck in a microwave?
What happens?
Bill Withers.
So the longest note, that note by the way, is 18 seconds long. He holds it on there, which is quite long when you think about it.
It's quite long. On the 18th of September, in at number 6 was Sunshine on Leith by the Proclaimers.
Got their famous tracks on it there. I see.
I'm going to be 500 miles. Yeah, that one. Don't think it's.
Of course, there.
I'm
on my way for misery and happiness today. He's on his way with haggis in his pocket and a bagpipe.
That went to number 3 in Australia. There was also
Wow.
there was an Australian exclusive track on the album as well, which was "Then I Met You."
Wow. Okay.
Look-
Big in
look-
Australia.
Lucky
That was-
Australian
see,
people.
They gave us what do you call it? Was it
Neighbours? They gave us Kylie and pretty people like that, and
yeah,
we
they
gave
gave
them.
us-
We gave them the
What was
Proclaimers.
what was the track before that? They gave us the Vegemite sandwich guy. He gave us a Vegemite sandwich. What was that? What were they called? Was it not Men Without Hats? What was they called?
You're not about Midnight Oil, yeah?
No,
That's a
it was what were they called? Land Down Under. Do you remember
Men
the
at
song
Work?
Land Down Under? Men at Work. They gave us Men at Work. Man Down Under, and then we gave them in return the Proclaimers. Well, Scotland did.
Yeah, we didn't.
We didn't do that, but and I think that's a fair trade. No. And the Proclaimers never got sued, did they? By the Scouts of Australia for nicking their Bullabunga song, whatever it was.
No, they did not. They did not. So, score 1 for the Proclaimers, I guess,
Yes.
in this rubbish football game. In at number 7 is Buster, the original soundtrack.
Bah.
Bah.
As you say, bah. No.
Bah. Who cares?
No.
In at number 12 is The State of Euphoria by Anthrax. And the 4th studio album again. Another 4th.
Another fourth
by the
one.
American heavy metal band Anthrax.
Not my favourite thing at all.
It's got an awful album cover.
It's not good, that is it?
It's awful.
Those images on it are not good.
It's awful.
Their faces. They remind me of the same sort of faces that are on that Hume Goo Werevamp map thing from Monster Club. They look like that's a collection of weregoos or werevamps if ever I saw it.
Hume
Hume Goos.
they're just mocks or whatever it is.
Yeah. Shadmock. Well, they're not shadmocks. They're more like maddies.
Maddies. Just Anthrax, State of Maddie.
At some
that
point,
sounds
we
bad,
always
actually.
end up falling back on the discussion about bloody shadmocks and maddies. It's an important thing in our lives, that.
I think it took me a while to come to terms with the fact of how important it was. But when I
And that
did,
you were, I was in fact a maddie.
but when I did, I found, just like my understanding of my dislike for the Spy vs. Spy games, I slept very well at night.
Well, yes, and in all fairness, it's how we came to understand Gary, podcast friend Gary, really. Once we'd realised that he was a maddie or a shaddy, it all made sense, didn't it? The brown sauce.
I'd have to bring up the
jumping
picture
around
now.
his bedroom in his underpants.
Is it Monster Club?
Monster Club, yeah. If you look up the Monster Club monster lineage, if you Google that, it comes up pretty much straight away.
Yeah. There we go. Let's have a look at these. I think Gary's more of a... I don't know. Looking at these. It's not good. Whatever it is.
No.
None of it's good. He might
No,
be
I
a
think-
mock.
Yeah, he's potentially a mock there.
He might be. I think he might be a bit of. Oh no, he's a Vamgoo, That's
yes,
Gary.
Yes, he is. Here he is. Vamgoo.
or maybe a Shaddy on the right there.
Yeah. I think you're right. It's definitely one of those.
It's a Shaddy or a Vamgoo.
Yeah, Shad. It's not. I don't know if it's Shaddy. I'd say more of a Vamgoo. I think. It's got like straggly hair. Oh, he could be a caddy.
Yeah, but the Shaddy's got that sort of furtive look about him, which he
You're
sort
going
of
to have to publish this now to the Discord and for our non-Discord friends so that they have a clue what we're talking about here.
Just Google Monster Club lineage. That's all you got to type in.
Away.
Look at the images, and there you go.
Yeah. There's a website called ghoulyguide.com/monster-genealogy.
Yeah.
You go straight to it.
Straight to it.
Page, right
there you go.
We'll put it in the show notes for you.
And these faces on the Anthrax cover do look like them.
They do.
They do.
That was the point of it all. They do.
It does. In at number 13 is Ancient Heart by Tanita Tikaram.
You're a fan of this, though, aren't you?
I do like this album. I remember buying this album at the time, and I do like it. Yes, folk pop singer-songwriter Tanita Tikaram's first album. Pretty big success. Had launched his career. There's one track on it, Valentine's Heart, and it's just ace. It's just beautiful. It's a beautiful, beautiful song. It's about the second to last track on the album. You can stuff your arty crap. It's not arty crap at all.
Arty crap.
And I think it's incredible. It's written by a 19-year-old. So
yeah.
There you go. That's just me.
Yeah, to each their own.
I know. It shows I have a heart underneath this, monstrous facade.
Under your shaddy exterior, maddy exterior, I've got a beating heart. Somebody else is like that. I tore out in a meeting tomorrow, but it's all the same.
Yeah, I just stored it under my top. In at number 19 is The Spirit of Eden by Talk Talk. No.
Yeah, I agree. No, don't talk.
I've never liked them. Loads of people really rate them, don't they? Not for me.
Yeah. People dig it. People do dig it.
In at number 48 is Fur by Jane Weedlin.
Is she Weedlin? I don't know.
I don't know. I didn't know much about this. It's her second album, obviously after she was in the Go-Go's, wasn't she? It has the songs Rush Hour, Inside of Dreams, and Rush Hour. Everyone knows Rush Hour.
Hour's a good track.
Yeah. There's a weird track on it, though. There's one track on it. I can't remember what it is. I've linked to it, but I can't remember which one it is. But it's got a bit of a Nine Inch Nails feel to it. It's a bit
interesting.
It's weird. It's not what I was expecting at all. Bit Pretty Hate Machine, Nine Inch Nails. Don't think so. No, it's not quite as punchy, but it's when the snare comes in. If you sharpened everything up and sort of made it a bit more, you could hear it if give it the slightly harsher sound. It's got a weird tune to it, but not the vocals though. No,
Pretty Hate Machine, Nine Inch Nails. Then
yes,
so,
not
very early.
Yeah, the first album. Yeah. When they were a bit more synthy. Yeah. In at number 53 is End of the Millennium, Psychosis Blues by That Petrol Emotion.
Just confusing array of words. It's like you might have just won a crossword.
Or I might have summoned Beelzebub.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like a fridge in the woods has just opened with a red light in it.
It's like a film it's like the film Interstellar. You've just solved gravity. We don't know how or why, but you have.
Well done.
That was it. That was the equation.
I think it might have been. Or Evil Dead. In at number 64 is Urban Acid by various artists.
Acid. Probably something to do with that.
As opposed to Rural Acid. Well, that would be.
Yeah, well, be a whole different kind of acid. More country acid, more West Country.
West Country acid.
Yeah, a bit more acidic, more cider. Yeah.
We make our acid with apples.
Yeah, so it's not rural acid, it's rural cider.
Rural cider. 25th of September, straight in at number 1, as we've already talked about, was New Jersey by Bon Jovi.
Yeah.
In at number 2 was Staring at the Sun by Level 42. I've noted he didn't need to. His thumb could block out all celestial objects.
It could, yeah.
His massive glonk.
Glonk. His bloody glonk.
His massive glonk and his odd hair.
The glonk still plays the bass, even if it's not attached to Matt King.
Good old glonker. In at number 15 is Bluebell Knoll by the Cocteau Twins, their 5th studio album. I didn't know they'd been going so long at this point.
No, see, where's bloody Wilson when you need him? He's a massive Cocteau Twins fan, isn't he?
Of course
huge.
He is. Of course he is, because it's all...
it's just... They don't pronounce words, they just don't pronounce them. That's how they form lyrics.
There's no lyrics.
What's that? You want a hot potato?
Sambora's
over there.
It's Richie Sambora.
Look, I'm sorry, we haven't got any.
And if we did, I wouldn't sell them to you.
Yeah, get out.
Bog off.
Bog off, cocky. Get out.
Yeah. Take your twin with you. Two of
We
you
don't
in
serve
here.
your kind here. Cock toes. Get out.
Two of you blaring in. Weird. Number 17 is Workers' Playtime by Billy Bragg. If I was on my break from work, I would not be listening to this.
And I won't be bragging about it.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah, I like that.
It all goes a bit weird after this point. Number 26, and the beat goes on. 34 dance hits of the 70s.
Yeah, you know what's going to be on there? All the 70s hits that you know of.
It is. It's all of them. If you want to do a 70s disco night, this album has you covered.
Yep.
You just buy this, get this album, and you're done.
It's just to get everyone on board the love train.
Yeah.
And that'll be, on
Chic,
there and everything
the
you can
freak,
think of. Yeah.
it's all on
Freak
it.
out. Yeah.
It's all on there.
Yeah.
Unlike, however, if you wanted to do a 70s disco night, don't get the next one because it's the worlds of Foster and Allen by Foster and Allen.
Oh, God, they're still going. The same tracks, different order.
Well, it looked like this is some kind of weird double album with one half written by Foster and the other half written by Allen. Hence the worlds of Foster and Allen.
They're just, ironically, they write exactly the same songs.
And just really put
You've written what I've written.
Oh, Foster, what have you done? Oh, looks like we've done the same thing, Alan. Oh, Foster. If only we knew we were going to record the same shillelagh song.
Pass me poetry and I got to drum the track for you.
Oh, is it this one? Yes. How did you know, Foster? You're Foster. I'm Alan. Oh, we forgot who's who.
You've got my pants on.
No, I haven't.
I'm not wearing any.
Would you like
all
some
goes
sugar?
Strangely dark from that moment forth.
Absolutely.
A little insight there into the worlds of Foster and Allen.
Foster and Allen will be back next. Well, it's the second album they released this year, and I looked at it. There's more to come. And they're always getting the charts. They're always. Number 46 is Rare Groove Mix. Various artists. Rare.
Yeah.
This is weird. Number 58, Balearic Beat Volume 1 by various artists. Nitsa Rebbe on this.
I won't say they were really Balearic beats.
No, I listened to the track that's on this.
Yeah. They're not at all.
No, it's really odd.
Joining the Chant is an industrial kind of electro synth industrial track. Nothing to do with Balearic beats. You wouldn't be going clubbing in Ibiza and expect to hear "Join in the Chant." Join in the chant.
Because the one I'm going to here, which
track,
I can't remember who this one's by.
Thrashing
Doves Juice on the Payroll is pretty much what you'd expect. A bit laid back, sort of jazzy stuff. Yeah. But it's two tracks after Nitsa Ebb on the listing.
Nitsa Ebb should not be on there. That's clearly someone's gone wrong. Something's gone wrong.
It's gone, yeah. I heard them once. I'm sure, but they're Balearic. Did you say Belgian? No, Balearic.
I've met Nitsa Ebb. I've been in a nightclub when I saw a gig when they played in Derby at the Warehouse many moons ago. And after they'd blown the speakers up, we got a chance to sort of chat with them and stuff like that. And if I'd have said to him, I've seen you on a Balearic Beats album, he'd have probably punched me in the face.
Probably.
Well, and rightly so. Rightly
so.
You can't go Balearic Beat out in bands. It's just not done.
No. And at number 67 is Tender Prey by Nick Cave and The Bad Seeds, the fifth studio album by Australian rock band Nick Cave and The Bad Seeds. Always a band I thought I probably should like, maybe, but I never actually did when I listened to them. Not
my thing. I know podcast friend Gary's well into it, and he made a big point of saying something about Nick Cave, didn't he, when he was on the last time?
Yeah, he did.
So, no. And we said, don't we, if they were Nick Cave and the Sunflower Seeds, they wouldn't sound nearly as bad.
No, they wouldn't.
Or the Poppy Seeds.
And finally, at number 95 is Miami Vice 3 original soundtrack.
Blimey.
Scraping the Barrel.
Very much so, yes.
I looked at the track.
What tracks are on it, actually? What's on there? I didn't get a chance to look. That cover. Oh,
the cover's amazing.
They've been smoothed. They've been smoothened.
It's been airbrushed within an inch of its life.
He's literally got no pattern on his face of any description. He's got nothing.
And no one's neck is that smooth.
Wow, that is proper smoothing in. So, Sheena Easton, Follow My Rainbow. Yeah, what a bunch of rubbish on that. Yellow.
The Hooters, Stray Cats, Jan Hammer doing New York theme.
Yeah, why has it got James Brown on it? I feel good.
Two yellow tracks and two Jan Hammer tracks. It's not good.
No.
And that's it. It was. It started off quite metally, and then just dovetailed into just a load
compilation-y.
compilation. Yeah, so that's it. That's your albums. We'll be back with singles next week. Right now, though, we're going to go take a quick break and come back. We've got 4 more games still to get through, so please stay with us.
The novel Escape from the Commodore 64 by David Hearn is out now. Crash landing on a green planet full of vector graphics, can Sarah find a way to escape for real? Or is she stranded on a planet full of sun, sea, and chippy tea forever? Imagine finding yourself in a cinematic karate game, having to rescue a princess, or remain stuck under the run-stop key forever. What about finding yourself on a space freighter full of robots? Could you clear the decks? If you were transported back to a Wild West town, having to round up outlaws, could you survive until sunset? What if you were a wizard with a cat who must colour worlds? Could you beat the game, or would a virtual guitar solo announce your demise? Sarah might just be another visitor, but she doesn't want to stay a while, never mind forever. Available from Amazon and all good online retailers, discover if there's a way out in Escape from the Commodore 64. Visit davidhearnwriter.com to find out more.
Are you keeping up with the Commodore? Yes, the Commodore is keeping up with you.
And we're back. 4 more games. See how we get through these. My understanding is you didn't get this one up and running.
No,
Mr. Raddings.
no, I can add no input to this discussion really because I could not get the game running beyond the first screen and it didn't do anything from there, and I couldn't find a working version. So I had a look at it, but I can't explain or anything about it.
Luckily, I did get it up and running. This is The President is Missing. This is £12.95, a disc only. Quite cheap for a disc only game. Usually they're 15 quid, so whatever it is. This is one of those big impenetrable games we get from time to time, and it's from Cosme and Paul Norman. Once again, doing something very different from Forbidden Forest, Super Huey, the like. Although it does have a little bit, kind of in that sort of same area as what we saw with Chernobyl and its interface. That kind of, he does these kind of weird games every now and again. Anyway, what is this? The President is Missing. The year is 1996, and the President of the United States has been kidnapped, along with the leaders of 10 other nations, but they're not really important because the President has been kidnapped. It's like no one cares about the other 10 nations. The President's been kidnapped. So whilst attending a meeting with 10 other heads of state in Liechtenstein, 3 helicopters, all knowing the correct call signs and passwords, swooped in, bombed the building with nerve gas and rendered everyone unconscious. By the time everyone was back on their feet, the helicopters had legged it with all the heads of state aboard. What was odd about this was that no one knew the location of the meeting until 1 hour before it happened. So there's something going on, and they were all shipped in by the Swiss military. There's all strange things going on, and so on and so forth. All very strange. And what it's now up to you to sift through all the information at your disposal and figure out what the hell happened here and where they are holding the president. This is the disc version we're looking at. I believe there actually was a tape version later on, but from my understanding, it was limited. So I can't comment on that. I'm just commenting on the disc version here. So if you played the tape version, I don't know. This is the disc version that I played through. When the game loads, you ask for a series of information. You've got to input your name, your date of birth, your supervisor, which you can find in the instructions, the code name, passcode, etc. And there's a load of questions, and then you're into the main interface once you put all those details in. The instructions for this, it's about a 20-page instruction manual with lots of kind of cryptic information about people, the statements. It sort of talks you through the interface, but it does it in a kind of way which is not particularly intuitive, so that you've got to kind of work your way through this a little bit. And I'll do my best to try and sort of explain how this game plays. So you get into this main interface, and it's a single screen game. This is kind of like Chernobyl, so all done from this main central screen. You've got 4 options. So at the top, there's some details about who your details. In the middle, there's like this is where the list of stuff comes up, and at the bottom there's a cursor flashing. So it's asking for your command. And so from here, you've got 4 options, and you've got to type these words in. You can either do files, agents, codes, or comms. That's COMMS for communications. So if you type one of those into the interface, it brings up a sub-menu of options. So if you go into files, you get, I think it's 8 options. You get the first one is subject. So selecting this gives you access to information on 38 people of interest to the investigation. You can go to photographic, which gives a series of relevant images that are pertinent to the investigation, all of which can be zoomed in on as well and panned around with the joystick. You can go into document, which gives a record of the events of what happened. So you want to go in here first, sort of thing, and just read through all the documents because it gives you a step-by-step, moment-by-moment, sort of, down to the sort of minute when people got knocked out, when the bombs hit, when people came round, what happened, and that gives you all this sort of information, document by document. So it's quite interesting. You read through that. That gives you all the background to it. You can go into records. This gives you access to information on terrorist groups and some other bits and bobs as well. You can read through sort of some data around them. You can get this case pending. It's essentially just save and load. There's audio. Now this ties into an audio tape that comes with the game. So there's a lot of packaging with this, and one of the things it comes with is an audio tape. We'll post the link to this audio tape. You can listen to it on YouTube. It's about 12 minutes long, the version that's on YouTube, the one I found, and it's done like a sort of almost like a radio play. Like it starts off with like a load of news reports like, the president's gone and this, and we found out that 1803 today the president was kidnapped from this place and this and all this kind of stuff. And then there's these audio files as well which pertain to these, and it's like audio file 1, and it tells you all this stuff. And so there's loads of information in them. There's even some Morse code within them that you have to work out. So there's, it's kind of, it does a lot of sort of mixed media stuff, this game, which is quite interesting. There are reports which you receive from agents in the field, and I'll come to those in a bit, and confidential, and you've got to get actually clearance for them. So you've got to be, I couldn't get clearance from them, so I'm not sure how you get it, but you have to work your way through it. So all those elements will give you the background to the story, and I can tell you now, make some notes as you try and piece together what happened. You've got to, you're on your own. There's not a lot here. You've got to work your way through it. If you type agents, that allows you to communicate with 8 field agents, and you can send them off to surveil people or buildings. So that information you've got about the people or the places in the thing, you can send them off, and they'll, you type their names in, and they'll go off and keep an eye on them, and they'll report back later with stuff that they may have done or things like that. So who knows who you've got to follow? You kind of got to work it out. If you type in codes, this allows you to encrypt and send coded information, or you can decode encoded information that you have received. So you can send information to people, to places and things like that. And there's loads of different ways to encode stuff. It's tons. You work your way through it, and there's all bits and bobs, and it's quite complicated. And like I said, the information in the manual doesn't really explain it. So you kind of got to play it a little bit by ear and just kind of go for it. And the comms finally allows you to detain and question suspects or capture and secure premises. So again, if you think someone's up to nefarious stuff, you can tell them to go capture them, where they'll be, or you can give an address and secure those premises if you think something's going on there, and so on and so on and so forth. So all of this is accessed by a series of menus, as I said, that appear when you type in the initial options. So you type in comms, and these options come up, and that's what happens. And you're free to peruse the information in any order you see fit. There's no you just go for it. It's just open to you to do what you want. The interface itself is rather bare bones. It's just a real-time clock at the top, because if everything happens in real time, so as you're making your way through this game, the clock is always ticking. I think as the time ticks over, certain things will happen. And so, you get alerts from the State Department or an agent report, or there's a bulletin, and these options will flash. And when they come in, and you can press F7 to read them and access them. There is a lot to take in here. There's a lot of information and a lot of data to try and process. Like I said, the audio tape that comes with the game includes the audio files, scene setting, audio drama, and it's pretty well done, actually. I listened to it and I thought, this is actually pretty good. This is really quite interesting.
High production value as well.
Yeah, there is. I thought, it was released by Microprose, wasn't it? I think it was made by Cosme, released by Microprose. So it has a bit of money behind it. I think they went to town on this. I think it's an adaptation of a book, isn't it? I think there is a book of this. So I think this is an adaptation of that book.
Maybe.
So the manual, as I said, it does its best to give you information to get going. But like I said, this is a game you just got to be taking notes to progress. Otherwise, you'll just soon get lost in a sea of stuff. Like, I've no idea. And that's maybe one of its downfall, because it's not perfect. It's not. I think the interface could have been better. Having to press restore to go back to the main menu to look at the next in the list of documents, for instance. So you can't go back. So you type in files, and then you select documents, and then you select what document you want to look at, and then it just comes up, it sort of scrolls down on the screen. You can't just sort of quit out of that document and then press the second one. You have to go all the way back to the main sort of menu option, and then type in files, documents, number 2. read that, press restore, files, documents, number 3. And that's not a particularly good process to have to go through. It's a pain in the ass, if I'm perfectly honest. And you have to do that for all the things. So pressing restore always takes you back to that main point, and that's quite annoying. Disk access as well is pretty frequent, as the documents are on disk 2, the pictures are on disk 3. You're swapping back and forth, and so that can become quite a pain in the ass. If you want to look through different things quickly, you can't, because you always insert disk here. This, I was playing on an emulator, so you just select another disk. But I can imagine opening up your disk drive, swapping the disk over, turning it over, putting in a new disk. That'd be a right pain in the ass. But it is what it is. Also, some of the information is a little overwhelming. So when you look at the information on a person, for instance, it's just half a screen of text, and it's just a wall of text. No paragraphs. It's just a wall, half a screen filled with text. And on the other side, side of the screen is a digitized image of the person on the left of it, and it just feels really crowded. You like looking at it, going, "Oh, it's just instant eye strain." Just trying to take it all in. There's no way of sort of passing that information because it's just a block of text, so it's hard to pick out the important parts. It just feels really crowded and hard to do. It's this aspect of the game that puts me off. I like the clandestine feel to this. The audio tape is a great way to set the atmosphere. The story is interesting to draw you in. But the playing of it, the actual interfacing with this game, going back to the main menu to get to the next in the list of whatever you need to do, the flow of how you interact with things, it feels really stilted, and it's not very user-friendly. Now, my thought on this was that maybe Paul Norman was trying to replicate how government systems works at the time. I don't know, but I don't care. This is a game, and I want to be able to interface this game and try and understand it a bit better. And I think if they'd have got someone in who could look at this from a design perspective, so Paul Norman's obviously a very, very clever code, and he's got all this stuff together, but someone just comes in with a design sort of look and go, you can lay this out better. This could be presented to the user and the reader in a better way, because I think that's what's missing here. We saw something similar with the Fourth Protocol way, way back. That was like 1985. And that had like its icon-driven menu system with things popping up, and very, very similar thing. Did it in a very much more user-friendly way, and I can't help but feel. It didn't have to be this way. The way that the information is presented, it could have been better, and it could have been refined, and it could have been more user-friendly. And I think that's where this game falls down for me, anyway. And I wanted an in, but it's so you either take it on its face at what it wants, or you just and I think it's just maybe a step too far. It's an interesting game, and it's something different. It's something very different to what we normally play and what we normally see released. So fair play to them. It's well done, and if you have the patience to navigate the UI, then you're going to certainly find a decent mystery underneath it, and you're going to probably enjoy your time with it. Though, one thing though, at the back of the manual, so just to say, there's no ending in the game, because at the back of the manual it tells you to send your findings to Cosme, gives you an address to write to, saying, I think it was Professor Plum in the thingy, blah, blah, blah. And then they'll write back to you to let you know if you've figured it out. So that's great in 1988. Not a thing really open to you today. So I don't know, if you're going to go play this, you better, you're going to come away from it going, well, I think it was this, but you're going to have no way of knowing, is my understanding. There's probably something on the internet that tells you the right answer, but that's, it's a strange thing. So it's this weird kind of multimedia thing. It's almost like an ARG, like this, those old kind of things where you're kind of finding bits in different pieces of media, like the tape and the document and the reading the manual and looking at the game and looking at these bits, and you kind of try and put it all together. And that way, it's quite, it's quite ambitious and quite adventurous. I just wish it was a bit more approachable in the actual game itself, and that's what I thought of this. But there you go. I think you'd have quite enjoyed this if you actually did play it, but I think you probably find the design of it would have hurt your designer brain, I think, a bit.
Yeah, I couldn't play it. I looked at it on YouTube a little bit, and I just thought it looked like a game you needed to play rather than just sit and look at the text on the screen and go, that's good text, isn't it? So, and I quite like when it did photographs and stuff and all that. It looked interesting, but it also looked like it would require a hell of a lot of time, and I don't know if I've got enough time to get into something like that. But still, it's pretty impressive all the same. Yeah,
an interesting package. A lot came with it, so go check it out and see. You might get on with it. And like I said, we'll link to the audio tape. There's a tape on you find it on YouTube, just with a YouTube search, it comes up. So someone's already put it up, so you can go look at it. It's all there. But you might like it. It's interesting, different, I'd say. And there we go with that. Certainly different from our next one. Our second Ninja game of the episode.
yeah.
And again, it falls to you to. Is there more ninja in this? This is Ninja Scooter Simulator. Tell us about it, Graham.
Stupid. This is from SciSoft. Now, was this I hadn't written down who released it. Was it Mastertronic? It was Mastertronic, I think.
Give me a moment. I'll find out. You carry on. I'll find out.
Anyway, it doesn't really matter what released it. I couldn't really find much about who did it, other than SciSoft, I think, and that might have been the Spectra
It's
version.
a Silverbird, so it's Firebird.
Silverbird. So it's a lot on all the different platforms as well. You just find yourself instantly questioning why those three words are even put together.
It's what, 3 words?
Yeah,
that's someone's house.
Yeah, I think it is. I've lost in the middle of nowhere. Could you give us your 3 words, please? Ninja Scooter Simulator. We'll be right there. This scored 30% by somehow.
I don't know how this got
199 is why ninjas? What's it got to do with ninjas? Ninjas aren't on scooters, nor are they simulated. There's nothing about it that makes sense in any way. So we're back to that. It does not make sense kind of conversation. No, this is the Chewbacca defense all over again. Why not just use people that are ordinarily on scooters? Why not just have that? Why not just call it Scooter Simulator? Why have the word ninja in it at all? Why? Why are they trying to milk the ninja teat? Could it be because there's a ninja game coming out and they probably got wind of that? So
maybe
it can only be that. There's no reason why you would release this as this other than it's got the word ninja on it. And maybe people who like ninjas might think, oh, wow, ninja game. So the game starts with a really dreary tune. Really dreary. Not terrible, but it ain't nice either. So, no. Turd flavoured ice cream kind of thing. Title screen had a policeman running across the bottom of the screen for no reason whatsoever. Just running across the bottom of the screen. Had a crappy logo at the top. You could choose from redefining the keys, the music only, FX only, or 1 or 2 player start. There's not a lot to this game. The game involves you scooting as a ninja, I guess. Left to right across an obstacle course. You control your scoot ninja with the joystick. Left and right is slow or slow down, speed up. Up and down is up and down screen space. Fire is jump. There are jumps and speed ups that you can hit, as well as walls and obstacles, which will cause you to crash, which you will also hit. You will do that a lot because most of the course design here seems totally and utterly arbitrary. So there's jumps right in front of walls. There's gaps that you can't really get through. It's more of an endurance. How long you're willing to put up with this crap before you switch it off. This is what this is. This is a how long can you stand it simulator.
Yep.
So there's literally nothing really to even say that there's nothing holding this together. The bottom 2/3 is your game window. The upper third is your UI. Up there, you've got the logo of the game, 1 or 2 player scores, and a countdown clock. You've got to try and get to the end of the levels, such as they have before the timer runs down. At the bottom, it tells you what round you're currently on. The rounds are the same over and over and over and over again. I don't think there's any variation. Scrolling is, I suppose, smooth, but the graphics are really small and really badly made. The road is bright blue with yellow jumps. That's just stupid. That's just stupid. There's an attempt at some kind of background, I guess, but that's not good, is it? There's like a car there. Scale's all wrong. The car's as big as the scooter, or the scooter's as big as a car. Which is it? It's meant to be some kind of city at night, but this is no Night Driver, is it? No, this is no.
No, it's nice pine forest effect.
Yeah, it's not that. It's just it's night-ish, I guess. Your ninja isn't a ninja. It doesn't look like a ninja. Well, I suppose it could be a ninja. I mean, does this, if we're following the rules of ninja, does this mean that he is more ninjary because he's not dressed like a ninja than a ninja would be dressed like a ninja?
And he's at night, I guess.
And because he's on a scooter, he's probably more prone to a ninjary, isn't he? Going to fall off that thing, graze your knee. So in an inverse way, this game is more ninjary than Last Ninja 2.
Your logic
is not, though, is it?
Is infallible.
It's just crap, this. You're just riding a scooter on an obstacle course, which is really small and bitty. Graphics are all small. It's all strewn around in a way that makes no sense. There's no path you'd follow or anything like that. You'd be forever falling off. You could do stunts and things on it, apparently. I didn't really try because I was too horrified by what I saw. Belt scroll type system where it just continuously moves and you can either go further into the screen or not and maybe a bit speed up. Meant to be on a road, I guess. At £2, this is poor, isn't it?
Yes.
If there is a story to this, who gives a shit? I don't care what the story is. How did the ninja get up on a scooter? Why is he on a scooter? Why is he going through the park? Why don't you just walk? Why, that assault course is only difficult if you're on a scooter. Just don't walk, don't use a scooter. I suppose it defeats the purpose of it being a scooter simulator, really. It's just garbage and it needs to be put in a trash compactor right now. A really bad one. Crunch it to death. No. 30%. What? Why? 10%, surely. Rubbish. What about you?
Yeah, rubbish. Dire Metro Cross knockoff with Ninja Scooter. Wow, awful music, awful glitchy graphics. The top half of your sprite keep disappearing. Mine did. Just kept disappearing.
Yeah, there's bugs all over the shop. It was just
It's
rubbish.
buggy nightmare. Why do I keep jumping when I go up or down? I just want to go up. Stop jumping. Let me jump when I
Stupid
press the
control
fire
system,
button.
innit?
Yeah, it's terrible.
Stupid
This is a
control
bad budget thing that is buggy, ugly, and no fun to play at all. And stupid as well. Dream scooters for ninjas. When did ninjas have scooters? Just something
They
that
don't.
should never have been.
Well, or do they? That's the debate, isn't it? With,
Back in feudal Japan, we found some drawings of
good
ninjas on scooters.
a good modern urban ninja who is trying to infiltrate the gangs of the park would disguise himself as somebody that carried a scooter. Therefore, he is more ninjary.
I'm giving you some side eye.
I'm just saying, it's just a fact.
Yeah. I do want to mention the front cover because this is a particularly bad front cover. He's in his blue overalls. He's got mismatched shoes.
It ain't good.
He's got mismatched shoes, and he's doing the loser sign.
Yeah, it ain't good.
He's calling someone a loser. Well, in the back, and he's got big brown wheels, and he's massively. What's the perspective on that scooter?
Pass.
But the bit where he's got his foot on, he's not level. He's not right with the wheels, and that back wheel is massive. Also, as well, on either side, there's two floating skulls, toothless skulls, and in the back, there's what looks like a grey ninja just half drawn on a background of pink neon stripes.
No, not good.
It's awful. Oh, there we go. Ninja Scooter Simulator. What a dreadful thing. Terrible thing. Let's move on.
Good.
Let's move on. We've got another budget game coming up. And that one is, it's Dizzy. Dizzy, Graham. Dizzy has arrived. My head is spinning.
Dizzy, my head is spinning.
So this is the first in a long line of platform adventures. This is Dizzy, or to give it its full title, Dizzy, the Ultimate Cartoon Adventure. There's a deep and funny story for this game, so I'll just read direct from the cassette inlay so you can all get a feel for it.
Please.
All right, so Dizzy was exploring the haunted forest, looking for berries, flowers, and a piece of wood with which to make a club, when he uncovered a mystifying stone slab. Brushing the dirt aside, he was able to read, after a great deal of head-scratching, the faint inscription. The Afro-something potion. I can't read it. I don't know what it says. Dizzy remembered his egg father had spoken of such a potion. It is the only way to rid our land of Athlete's Foot, and it can also be used to destroy the evil wizard Zax. Dizzy trembled with fear as he recalled these words. Zax brought fear to the village. He cast spells that turned people old, made men blind, and caused it to rain every Sunday afternoon during cricket. Dizzy was determined to put a stop to all this. He would be hero of the Yoke folk. He read on. Fill a potion bottle with cooked leprechaun's wig, cloud's silver lining, vampire duck's feather, and some troll brew. Cook the potion and throw it at Zax to dissolve his reign. He covered it up quickly, made ready to liberate the land of Kathmandu.
What?
I don't know.
What were they on?
I think the fridge in the woods has opened up again.
I think them the Oliver twins have just they've been eating the wrong kind of mushrooms, I think.
I don't know what any of that means. The Avo. Oh, I see. It's the Avo Whiff of E potion. Oh yeah. Avo Whiff of E. Anyway, that's that's the inlay. There's a hint in this as well. It says, "Try greasing the old rusty mining cart." Sounds painful. Sounds like a metaphor I've ever.
You ain't greasing no one, Eggman.
Yeah, try greasing the old rusty mining cart so I can fit the egg in.
It's a euphemism I've not heard before, but
that's not something I've heard in a long time.
I felt a dark shadow in the force.
Greasing the old rusty mining cart. What are you doing in there?
Just letting the egg in.
I'm letting the egg in because I've greased the old rusty mining cart.
For God's sake. It's too dark park, that.
Oh dear. Anyway.
We're ruining Dizzy for so many people right now.
I would have thought, right, finally we've got the classic egg game and we'd love it, but, I'm just shoving it up a rusty mining cart by the sounds of it.
Lubricated, at least.
Right. It only says try greasing. That's just...
At least the T and the D. No one wants to be dry greased.
Ew. Cry greasing.
You ain't cry greasing no one, Eggman.
Oh, dear. Right. This was originally created by the Oliver twins on the Spectrum and Amstrad. The C64 port is by Ian Gray, graphics by James Wilson, and music by David Blink and You'll Miss the Loop Whitaker. From the very outset, the Spectrum heritage is strong in this one. The title screen with its high-res image is pretty much identical to the Spectrum front screen, except we do get some extra trees on either side. Nice.
Ooh.
The game, though, is nearly identical, with no real attempt to make this look like a C64 game, aside from getting rid of the colour clash, which it does, I guess. Dizzy, and indeed all the sprites, are single-colour creations. Dizzy himself is a big white egg with arms and legs, and controls are simple enough with left and right for movement, up for jump, and a fire button to pick stuff up. I have to say I don't like this setup. I think fire for jump and down for picking stuff up would have been better.
Yep.
It's simple, really. It's using the diagonals for jump when the fire button is right there. Just there. Always seems the better option. Anyway, the game itself is a flick screen adventure. It's one of them where you have to wander and jump over the landscape, avoiding the random things that might kill you. So Dizzy is a very fragile egg, I've noted. Even a drop of water falling from a cloud will smash his shell in. Pick up objects and use them where they need to be used in order to create the potion to kill Zax. That's what this is. So yes, this is another in the long line of walking 20 screens to the right to pick up the fish, to go back and drop it by the pot sort of thing that we bemoaned all the way back with Everyone's a Wally. It's another one of them.
Yep.
I wasn't a big fan of Dizzy's jump and roll, as more often than not, I would overjump and roll off the platform I was attempting to land on. That's annoying. Yep. I'm also not a big fan of randomly flying enemies like the birds in this, as trying to make a jump whilst the bird just moves and changes direction with no warning is irritating. Quite often I got killed by that because I couldn't. Yep. You can't plan for randomness, random direction changes, especially when once the jump is in motion, it's in motion.
Yes, you can't stop an egg.
No, you cannot stop a spinning egg, even a greased one. With the rusty mining cart.
As long as it's not aiming for your rusty mining cart, you're all
right.
You might survive it. Just be a fuck and
oh! And then it's cracked.
I hope that's yolk coming out.
So do I.
It might not be egg yolk.
Precious yolk.
I'm sipping my precious yolk. Precious fluids.
Stop.
Oh my God. So, if you like Dizzy, I'm so sorry we're ruining it for you now.
It's the only way we get through these games somehow.
It is sometimes.
Anyway, yeah, these birds run around. Yes, before you say it, I managed to get the bird seed and to kill them, but then I can't carry anything else, so although it is good that they do stay dead, so that's one thing, but you have to jump past one of these bloody birds to get the bird seed.
You do.
Anyway, it's one of those. Multi-screen, random around, find a bit, do the stuff, whatever. I can see why people like this, I do. It's for £2. I guess it's not bad. It's all right for one of these. But however, this version is inferior in the speed and responsiveness to the Spectrum version, which is faster. There's slowdown in this as well on certain screens when more than a couple of things are moving. And I'm guessing that's because this hasn't been really optimized for the C64. I think this is just Spectrum code, probably just ported over. I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Wouldn't surprise me because it looks like a Spectrum game. It feels like a Spectrum game. It runs slower. It shouldn't run slower. We've seen games like this run perfectly smooth and fast. Look, we've got Impossible Mission, for Christ's sake. Impossible Mission suffers no slowdown with loads of stuff moving because it's optimized for the C64. There's no reason why three things moving on the screen should make you start to move like treacle. It's just not. It's bad optimization. As simple as that. And it is what it is. It's not the last we'll see of Dizzy. Do you know there are 9 more games in the series coming to the?
I know there's a few, isn't there?
9. So there's 10 games on total. According to Lemon 64, 9. 9 egg. 9 egg. 9 with your rusty mining cart. I do hope the games get better though. Assist didn't do anything for me. I feel they won't. I feel we're just going to get more of this. I just find these wander and find stuff to backtrack past boring enemies and jumps dull as hell. And this game did nothing to turn me on the genre. It's just boring and dull and I don't like it. I really didn't. What about you?
No. These games aren't generally my thing anyway, but I mean, it's good value. And I have to say, I'm all for a game where you play an egg. I mean, that's just that's just
exactly.
good design.
Exactly.
That's just good old-fashioned design. But a flick screen adventure, we've seen a few of them. And you either like these kind of flick screen, sort of, wander around, pick it up, move along, pick it up, drop it down, do that. You either like them or you don't. I don't. This is obviously, its home is on the Spectrum, and on that it's probably a bit of a bona fide classic, I think. Certainly made a name for the Oliver twins with it, didn't they? This conversion, it's a bit cutesy, but it's also a bit clumsy, isn't it? It's been clumsily handled, so it's got a lot of flicky graphics going on, like you said, and it's not very nice. It's akin to that Monty on the Run school of games, isn't it? But without the pace, music, graphics, fun. It's not like Monty on the Run at all, really, actually, thinking about it. But that sort of style of games kind of we've been there, done that so many times now. I mean, in this one, you flap, walk and roll, which, no one really wants to do, do they really?
No.
And again, you're doing that around sort of Spectrum backgrounds, essentially, avoiding Spectrum-like enemies in a Spectrum game on a Commodore 64. Well, we've done that before as well. Roll on the adventure and the good times. I like the details on the trees. Some of the graphic details I quite liked in this. So I quite like those little bits, because that's that turn of shading that sometimes these games can look quite nice in. They do a little bit. Mm-hmm. Rest of it, not so much. I just found that, like you said, controlling Dizzy itself, considering it's an egg with legs and that, it's just he tumbles and bobbles about, and I just didn't get on with it. I found him needlessly clumsy, and that made the game in turn needlessly difficult to navigate, and just found, like you said, overshooting things all the time. There's probably mileage in a game like this if you like this and you like doing the maps for it, and you like and figuring out that you needed to get the key from screen 17 to screen 2, and that means avoiding the flappy doodah bird and the ning-nang tree and the hee-hoo and all that. So if that's your thing, this is well designed and it's right up your street for a couple of quid. And it's about, and of all the games that we played out of those, it's a very average one of them. There's nothing great about it. It'll function. You'll be able to complete it, no doubt, at some point. It got 48%, pretty much bang on in the middle. It's an average version of one of these games for £2. So yeah, like the game in the last episode that we played, Metropolis, it's the same sort of idea. It's just another game, another go on one of those games. So fill your boots if you like that, but if you don't, avoid
Indeed.
it. And I'd never obviously saying that about an egg game.
No, I wouldn't either. Probably more fun to grease the old rusty mining cart, I think.
Exactly, yeah. I think more fun doing that. And for God's sake, don't look over the egg. Just don't.
You're going to need proper greasing for that.
You will, yeah. You don't want that. Wouldn't it be a different alien film, wouldn't it, if they were all dizzy eggs and the facehugger shot out of a dizzy egg and then just shot right up your ass?
That's not where I thought that was going. Which is what he said in the film.
Yeah. It's like they're not facehuggers, they're bum stuffers. This is a whole different kind of alien ship. That'd be really awkward, wouldn't it, if it didn't actually go on his face and sort of do that, just glued itself to his ass cheeks and he couldn't sit down. I was like, it's really sore. It's doing something down there.
Then it just dropped off. I don't want to know where it explodes from.
And my yolk came out. I was like, that's not yolk.
I don't want to think about this anymore.
Enough of that now.
It's making me feel a bit...
It's like dizzy, making you feel dizzy. I feel dizzy, my head is spinning. That's how we started that review off. Yeah,
I did,
full circle.
Like a mining car, I'm well greased.
It's a circle, it's an oval circle. It's an egg shape. Yeah, an egg shape.
Well, let's move on quickly.
I think
We've
we should.
got one game left. let's try one more game, God's sake. This is over to you, Graham. Right in your wheelhouse, this one. This is Football Manager 2.
Published by Addictive Games. Coded by, of course, the powerful eyebrows of Kevin Toms.
Kevin Tomatoes.
Kevin Toms. Yeah, Kevin Tomatoes. Kevin Toms. He's in the Bedroom to Billions movie documentary. He's interviewed in that. I think he's in that one of the Amiga one. Anyway, he's got crazy eyebrows, very powerful eyebrows. Anyway, now considering we complained bitterly about Football Manager loading times, this one was like bloody instant.
Yeah,
if that's a crack or if it's just like that, I don't know. This was like fast. This was like lightning.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So I'm guessing we've upped our ante to machine code now. I think is the telltale sign of machine code there, or an expert cartridge. Anyway. I don't know much about the Football Manager games at all. In fact, very little. So I'm actually just going to go through my experience of this game because I don't generally go for that kind of thing. So I'm going to walk you through what I did as the manager of the team I chose. and just go through the options as I came across them. As a person that's never really played a Football Manager game his whole life, so that's where I'm coming from. So I'm a target audience, really. Could they convert me to liking this kind of thing? Maybe. Who knows? And let's try it. Let's try it. So this is how I approach this, because what can you say about Football Manager games other than that it's a sequel to Football Manager, which is a massively successful game in its own right and spawned so many sequels. It's crazy. I mean, this is just sequel number 2. There's loads more, isn't there? There's loads of them.
I think, I don't know if they're spawned from the same, the modern sort of Premier Football Manager or whatever it's called.
They're different leagues, but the same sort of idea of managing a football team.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So the loading was fast. When it started, I could choose Everton or not. So I chose not, and then it said Liverpool or not. I thought we could go on for a long time doing this. Why don't you just present me with a drop-down menu with all of the teams in it so I could pick one? Why do I have to go through them all one at a time? Anyway, and it didn't say Liverpool, by the way. It said Liverpool. So it's Liverpool and then apostrophe L, Liverpool. So I chose Liverpool. And that was purely just to save my life from draining any further at this point. So then I could choose some sponsorship from Major Bank PLC. I chose to try and get more out of them. It didn't work, so I ended up getting a blank loan for £36,600 with a management rating of 50. I have no idea what the hell that means.
It means 50.
It's 50. Better than 49. That's what it is.
Less than 51.
I chose skill level 1, which is easy. And then I got my management record, which was blank, aside from my rating as 1 now, which I thought I'd been downgraded by 49. Seems a bit harsh. And I could load and save my game at that point. I didn't choose to. And then my next thing, you progress on this, by the way, generally by yes, no options and pressing the button, which is nice. Keep that part simple. Nice. I like that. Just yes, no. Are you doing this? Are you doing that? No. That's quite a nice in on these games. I was expecting this to be a full-on stato spreadsheet in front of me, in all honesty, and it totally surprised me that it wasn't that. My first league match was versus Cardiff, who were position 13 in the league versus my position 24. I don't know what league that is. And this time, is it League 4 for this? I think you start in the lower leagues.
Probably, yeah.
I chose my squad at this point. So you presented, for each one of these is mainly text. At this point, you presented with a sort of a view of the pitch from 3 different positions. Obviously, defence, midfield, and then attack. And this is where you sort of position the players from the teams. I have no idea what any of their stats meant.
The higher the number, the better, I think.
Well, I just picked some familiar names. In my team, I had names like Barnes, Lineker, Beardsley, and Cotty.
Tony Cotty, yeah.
So I picked them. No, I don't know if I put them in the right positions or not. So I just put them in what I thought seemed like a nice place for them to be.
Did you put them all up front?
Certainly Barnes was up front.
Right. There was a little A, D, or M next to him, which was attack, defence, midfield.
Yeah, I just put them where I thought they looked nice. So I put them. It took me ages as well. It took ages.
It did take. It's really unintuitive, that sequence.
It's it goes back up to yes, no, and you sort of click on the thing, and then it's just a bit. You figure it out in the end, but it's a bit ass about face. So I put them in positions with the joystick. I didn't have a clue really what I was doing. But I managed to somehow get enough players on the pitch to start the game. So the game started. And immediately Barnes scored for Liverpool within like the first second. It was quite glorious, actually. And then about a second later, Wright scored for Cardiff. And then that was the same till the second half. And Cardiff scored again. I was like, oh no. And this part is a representation of the game told through the medium of blocky. It's all told through blocky. And it's passable blocky, I suppose, but blocky is what it is. It was fun in a weird kind of way, I suppose. Well, a lot of fun, but it was, I was watching stuff happen and it happened. Barnes scored a last-minute equaliser, literally like 1 minute. So it was 2-2, which meant they went then to the league table with Liverpool now 18th. Unfortunately, I had some injuries. Barnes was injured, and I went to another screen which told me my bank balance was 496,000, but my gate receipts were 9,000, which I thought, but I have 13,000 overheads. So I'm no seasoned pro football manager, but I felt like I had a minus £4,000 profit from the get-go, which didn't seem good, that.
No.
So it asked me if I wanted to sell any players. I thought, no, I'm best not. Did I want to buy any players? I thought, I'm in debt anyway, may as well. So I bought somebody called Lukic because it seemed like he had it's Lukic. I thought it was thought it was Lukic, as it seemed like a logical name for a footballer to be called Kick.
Fair enough. John Lukic.
90,000 he was. 90,000 I paid for him. I did some extra passing training on increasing length.
Yep.
So then it was back to the management record screen and the whole thing turned over again. My next game was an FA Cup round against Halifax. And so
Yeah.
it kind of went on in that vein. And and it played in the same way. And I imagine as you continue in the game, you just do more of that. And there's probably more things that pop up and injured players and things and trades and stuff like that. And you work your way through a league. Now, it's never going to win any graphic awards, this, but it's not really about that, is it? And normally, a football game isn't going to be for me at all. Not only do I not really like football in particular, but I'd never really been a player of it. I didn't dig it at school particularly. I was I was a chubby kid at school, a bit on the slow side. I'm not going to get picked for teams where I've got to run around and kick a ball in any meaningful direction. It's just not happening. Not my thing at all. Didn't really enjoy running about. Built for comfort, not speed really, when I was a teenager. And no one in my family liked it either. So it wasn't a subject that ever came up in our house. My dad was in the Navy. My mum was not a football fan of any description. My brother was in the Navy. My sister's not going to like football, nor were they into football players. Football was not a thing that happened in our house. So on the few occasions I did show interest in it, it was kind of just usurped into other stuff. So it was never, in some families, football is the thing that is a key part of the familial relationship between brothers and family and siblings and all that. That didn't happen for me, so I didn't have that. And even the friends I had, albeit you were into football wasn't a thing that was our friendship was founded upon or based upon. No. You and Gary obviously know a lot more about football and talk up the football stuff. And I've never really, no, that's just not my thing. And that's fair enough, I get it. So on paper, this game should have had literally no appeal for me. I didn't have a clue what I was doing, mind, in it at all. Mm-hmm. The names are meaningless, the positions are meaningless. It's all, I know the basics of football and how it plays, but I'm not going to know if putting Barnes in the position I put him in was a good choice compared to putting Lineker in another position, and nor do I know whether they were good. I know the names. I don't know if they were really good names or bad names. I know Lineker because he became a crisp and he sold Lineker crisps. So all of that aside, this game had no appeal to me, but I finally got to see why it would appeal to somebody. And it's quite an interesting epiphany, really, for me. Now, I could sort of see how you'd want to build and save your teams and get them to where you'd want them to be. I can sort of see why you'd want to do that in a game like this. Mm-hmm. And having watched the Wrexham TV series on Netflix about Rob McElhenney and Deadpool guy, what's his name?
Ryan Reynolds.
And I know that's a kind of a glib representation of it, but that show is about the vicarious enjoyment of people that have not really been into football, finding a way into football. And it was kind of a parallel for me in this game in many ways. I know it's not an obvious parallel in any way, shape. I'm not a multimillionaire actor and I haven't just bought a football club. But the parallel for me is that it's just about getting into something that you would never normally get into and understanding why people get into it. And that was the kind of important part for me here. So seeing how you would build your team up, seeing how you would get it through the league, seeing how those games, even though they're blocky representations, though, seeing how that happens in front of you is very engaging if you're into that. There's no way around that. And it is. And so, like I said, having watched Wrexham and seen how engaging it can be, and I admire the dedication of fans of the game in that way. Seeing not the ones that have all troubles, just seeing how passionate and how embracing they are of that. So I can sort of see why. I can sort of see why people get into that sport and I sort of get it. I get the idea of it. Now, this game is basic. There's no way around that. I don't mean coding basic, but it's just basic in looks and feel, and it is. But it must have appealed to the football crowd in really core ways, in a way that I've never really understood, and I could sort of see why. Does it need fancy graphics? No. Much of the establishing notions of football, from my understanding, were based really originally around radio commentary and the video prints. If you weren't seeing it live, so if you didn't go to the match, you would always be experiencing football vicariously, either highlights on a TV show, probably on the radio if you wanted to listen to it live. And to understand the results of all the matches on a weekend, you'd be looking at a video printer on ITV going, that guy reading out the scores. And I remember listening to that guy droning on with the scores before Doctor Who came on, I think, because that was what you had to sort of endure. And so I sort of get it. And I thought, you know what? That's how you understand. That's how football was understood. It wasn't just the football game itself. It's all the other stuff around that, and I could sort of get it. And I can see how this game taps directly into that part, that statistic part of football. It doesn't have to be about the actual physicality of running around on it. There is that other wraparound, and this game is about that. And I found that really compelling. So if you didn't see the game live, you'd be watching the highlights. This is obviously before Sky TV and all of that. So you'd be vicariously enjoying football more often than not as a young person, because you'd be hearing it on radio, you'd be hearing people talk about it, you'd be maybe seeing it in the newspapers the next day, and maybe watching some highlights, the odd match that might be on TV and things like that. All of it vicarious, which means a game that's based around the vicarious management of a football team is only going to be a success for that particular genre. and I get it now. And because I sort of got it, I really enjoyed playing it, which is something I never thought I would do. Genuinely interesting game. I don't have a clue what I was doing, but it was compelling enough to make me think, actually, I get why. When I was watching them games take place in Blocky World, when I scored that final equaliser, I was like, yes! It's really mad. I got really into it. So I think this game delivers on what it sets out to do. It may not be the best one in the world, but in my estimation, I was able to get in, watch a football match of people that I positioned, do the things I wanted them to do, buy and sell and do a bit of stuff. And then it sort of had an outcome, and it sort of felt like it did something. And that was quite important for me. So I like it. What about you?
Yeah, I think that this, I think you've hit the nail very much on the head. And I think that this is aimed at people like you. And I don't mean that in a you as in, but I mean you as in who don't really have a penchant for football, who may not have the sort of knowledge of the deeper aspects of it and things like that. So
I don't know how different it is to the Football Manager first game, you see. I never really played that.
I mean, I played that, and that's obviously I can't remember because I played that ages ago. But the thing with this, I mean, I will say, like I said, it's pretty fast. The menus are all snappy, and the in-game action is, played at just an okay pace. The sprites move around, the ball bounce about. It's not slow or anything like that. My problem is, I think the thing that you probably liked about it is that it lacks any kind of depth beyond a few options. So calling this a Football Manager game is a bit of a misnomer because all you can kind of do is pick a team and say yes to a few things.
So football choices, maybe.
Yeah, because there's no options for the kind of there's no options for the kind of training. You can't pick type of training you might want to do, or it's just you get. Do you want to do some extra training? It's like, well, what's the other training that's going on?
You could pick long and short passes.
Yeah, but what about the other? I want to
lengthy passes
in Football Manager games. You kind of pick. Do you want to train this? Do you want to train that? Do you want to? There's lots of different options.
This player needs training like that.
Yeah, and things like that. And so that kind of there's no way to make subs apart from at half time. So you can't change things up, which you can in some football manager games. You don't even have a system. There's no system. You can't change that. You either you pick your formation at the start and that's it. I mean, the only way you can do it is subs at half time, but then you're limited to that. So it feels for me it was very lightweight. I mean, that's not a bad thing.
Is it meant to be, though? I
don't know. It's a weird sort of thing, because I seem to remember Football Manager, the first one, being more in-depth. Even though it was basic, had more stuff going on around the edges, more stuff you could do. Maybe I'm misremembering it, I can't remember. But it just, for me, this just felt like it had any real sense of strategy. It's like a simple thing, could have been like, okay, I'm put these players on, but we're 2-0 up, so now I just want to switch to defence because I just want to protect the lead. That's simple. Just switch mode to defence. So just let him, everyone back. We'll sit on this and that's it. So that's how it should, but here it's just like, no, the game just plays out. And, you get those moments where you get the last minute equaliser, and those things are brilliant because they do show like, oh, even in something like this where I'm not controlling this, but the choices I've made have happened and they've worked this way and it's happened this thing, and that's great and all that. Yeah, I don't know. And obviously, as someone who knows football and who grew up playing football and following football, and all these players, I'm very, very familiar with. Your Gary Linekers, your John Barnes, your Peter Bearsleys, your Tony Cotties, your Gareth. What's the goalkeeper's name? Who's Gareth Southall? Whatever it is. I knew most of them, so to start you with the best players around at the time when you're in Division 4, it just seemed very odd. It seemed a very odd choice. Normally in Football Manager games, you get Wright or you get Smith, Jones, just a load of nobodies because you're in Division 4. And so it felt weird because I just picked a team and I just run rampant over everyone. I won 3-0, 4-0. I was like, because I knew the players, which is put them there, done. Okay. So I don't know. It was okay. I don't mind it. I'm very happy that you enjoyed it. I think that's cool because you've never really been a fan of these kind of things.
I found an in.
You found an in, and you found a game that gave you that, she said that vicarious feel of football management, because it is very satisfying when you make choices and those choices give beneficial results. It's like cool. It's like that's good. I just found it just a bit lightweight, but maybe that's what it was trying to do. I don't know. I just liked a few more options. I just would have liked a few more options. I thought for the first time round, okay, when it's just I played it a few loops and it's just the same thing, and I just wanted a bit more depth to it, and that's what I think was a bit lacking here.
I because I think Zapp's principally said the same thing. I think they said it was as in depth. I think, because I remember the review. It's a while since I read the review, about a week. But
yeah,
I'm trying to think what was that, because they gave it 71%, didn't they?
Yeah, 71%. Yeah, I think that's about right. It's a bit cheeky as well because Zapp have put an Amiga screenshot in this review.
Oh, that's a bit low.
So you've got two screenshots here. One is, and the one at the bottom is from the game, and then the second one is like from behind the net, and it says, "Let's have an action replay of that goal." So I had a quick look on Moby Games, and it's an Amiga shot, an Amiga screenshot, and you can tell as well because the players are very different. The net's really well shaded. Yeah, it's a bit dubious that. Not sure what that's all about. I mean, so like I said, it isn't terrible. It's all right. It's just a bit lightweight for something where you just wanted to. It's like being able to, I don't know. So it's just other stuff you can normally do in these games that just weren't there, and I think that's what was missing. But it moved fast. That was one thing. It wasn't like Tracksuit Manager or whatever it was on the double.
No,
we had to put it on 400% warp speed.
I've just noticed as well in a little bit of blurb. It says a customizing utility. Came out for this in 1989. They called it the Football Manager 2 expansion kit. So I'm guessing that some of the things that you're talking of there, maybe they were addressed in later update
maybe.
or something like that.
Maybe. Yeah. Anyway, there you go. Football Manager. It's all right. I didn't mind it, but it just it just was lacking some of the things I look for in those kind of games. And I know it's old, but I think we could have.
It's ironic because that quote says there is sufficient depth, particularly in the training section.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, what?
I don't think I did. I mean, I'm no expert, but I'm pretty sure that wasn't that deep. I had two options, short or long.
Yeah. No.
Maybe it gets better as you go along. I don't know.
Maybe it did. I don't know. Maybe it did. Anyway, there we go. That's Football Manager 2. Certainly loads faster than Football Manager, that's for sure.
Just a bit.
And that's it. That's it for this episode. We've looked at 8 games. What games have we looked at? Well, we looked at Last Ninja 2, which was out. Did we mention that was $12.99 by the way as well?
No, I didn't mention the price. Did I mention the price? I don't remember mentioning the price, but yeah, it's $12.99. Was that tape?
Yeah.
Came with 2 tapes though, didn't it?
I know, but considering best sequel to the best game ever, which changed the world and sort of led to world peace. It's like the Bill and Ted song.
There's a message on the front of the instructions on the tape version that says this game is unbreakable. You will not be able to copy this game.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it was 2 days later. It was cracked by Akari.
What was that crack we were playing?
That was cracked by Akari. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
2 days later.
Anyway, Last Ninja 2, not ninjary enough.
No.
Did itself a
ninjary.
Did itself a ninjary by not being ninjary enough.
Yes, not enough ninjariness.
The Rogue, which was. It wasn't great. Night Racer,
No.
Nice pine trees.
Very nice pine tree.
Very nice pine trees.
Very
Typhoon, surprisingly good.
Yeah,
surprisingly decent
odd.
blaster.
Yeah.
That one.
Real surprise, that one.
Yeah, the President is missing. Hard to get hard in, but you have to.
That egg game it next, is it? Oh my god.
Yeah, Ninja Scooter Simulator, which ironically was more ninjary.
Yes, in a vicious twist.
A vicious twist, but was still shit. Dizzy. Which was greasing the rusty mining cart.
God, my head's still spinning.
To get the egg in.
Oh, God's sake. Yes, just keep your yoke to yourself.
Yeah, finally Football Manager 2, which is okay.
Yeah,
Good. I'm glad you like that. I am actually very glad you like that. And that was it. That was it for this week. Now, next week is our episode 100. We've got stuff.
We've got stuff.
We've got lots of stuff planned for that. So there's, I don't envy you having to edit this one together.
It's going to be a bloody nightmare.
We've got guests, we've got guest reviews, we've got people in, we've got all kinds of stuff planned, and hopefully we'll come together. And I hope it all does come together. So it could be interesting. What games are we looking at? Well, we're looking at Salamander.
Ooh la la!
Indeed, we got Izera.
Ooh la lee.
Ooh la lee. Blood Brothers. Ah la la.
La la.
Empire Strikes Back. Jalalai. Netherworld.
Oh God.
I don't know about that one. It's got a high score though.
As long as you're greased. The greased egg can come into your netherworld, no problem.
The Beach Buggy Simulator. What is it with these simulators?
I've got a funny feeling that's exactly the same as Ninja Scooter Simulator.
Oh, it could very well be. Road Blasters. And then the prequel to the sequel we've already had, Nighttime.
We're gonna have there's one of those stupid walk and seat games every week now.
Yeah.
Right,
it's just the way of life. Yeah, that's it. So that's what we've got coming up next week. So along with all the other stuff we've got planned for episode 100. So we hope you enjoyed this. You got anything you want to add before we episode 99.
Go and
That's
play
it.
some of the games we've mentioned. For the first time ever, I feel like we can recommend some games to go and play. Definitely check out, obviously, Last Ninja 2, but do check out Typhoon. I think it's a nice surprise. Always have time for night races. Amazing nighttime pine driving effect. And if you do fail, like you want to explore the world of egg insertion, I would avoid Dizzy as a concept.
Yeah,
Just don't do it.
I would.
Don't do it.
I think on that note, we should sign off. It feels like a long episode, but there we go. As ever, I have been Adrian Mills.
I have been Graham. No eggs in my bottom, Raddings.
And you have been listening to Greasing the Rusty Minecart. And we will see you again next week. Oh,
my yoke.
I'm dripping albumin. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Zapped to the Past podcast. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the world of Commodore 64 games, as well as the music, films and TV from around the 1980s, driven, of course, by the issue of Zap 64 magazine published at that time. We will return with a whole new batch of games and stuff to talk about next week. Until then, if you want to listen to or download previous episodes of Zapped to the Past, and why wouldn't you, they can all be found on our website at zappedtothepast.com, as well as being available on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Deezer, Audible, Player FM, and, well, pretty much anywhere where we can upload them. By the way, we do always love to hear from our amazing listeners, so if you'd like to contact us about anything in the podcast or beyond, you can do so by emailing us at zappedtothepast@gmail.com. We're also active on Twitter under @ZapTother, as well as Facebook, Instagram, and most social media platforms. Just search for Zap to the Past and you'll find us. Oh, and if you like the podcast and what we're doing, please do like, share, review, rate us. It really helps. Something, apparently. The Zap to the Past podcast is written and produced by Adrian Mills and Graham Raddings and recorded at Flaky Bits 2.0 Studio. All opinions expressed are those of the writers, and while we indeed love Zap 64 magazine, the Zap to the Past podcast is not affiliated with it in any way. Stay safe, see you next time, and remember, we play these games so you don't have to.